Okay, most I'm gonna go to the country. There you go. I see you right there.
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
Yeah, can you hear me on the computer? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Can everybody hear? Can you hear me, Mo?
I can hear you, Mo.
Okay, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Okay, mashallah. I guess we was having a little bit of deranged technology difficulties, but I guess we we here. Mashallah ta'ala wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I couldn't get onto the Zoom, so I just did the call up.
Okay, alhamdulillah, shukran. And who is this?
This is Abdul Rashid. Lukman invited me.
Oh man, alhamdulillah, shukran. Good, mashallah. Tabarak wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good to meet you, brother. My name is Abdul Rahman.
That's good to meet you too, Aki.
Yeah, inshallah ta'ala. We're trying to wait till we get a few more people that was having some technical difficulties in. And inshallah ta'ala, we're gonna begin, inshallah.
Okay.
I got some messages in the meeting right here. So it's a good day to meet. My name is Obey the Lukman. Okay, alhamdulillah, shukran. Yeah, assalamu alaikum, sister. Welcome. Yeah, your husband is already prominent demonstrator with us. So alhamdulillah, welcome, mashallah. Let me call Harun Shabazz and get him in because he definitely wants to get in this too. Yeah, well, Islam Sheikh, just log back in. We all up in here now. I think people have some technical difficulties on the other end, so we here. So just log back in. Okay, طيب, inshallah. Okay.
Ooh, wait.
You brothers still here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still here. We just waiting for some other. We waiting for more participants.
Okay, I'm here.
Can you hear me, Mo? Still?
Trying to learn something new. I'm trying to see if I could use my phone and link it to my computer so I can use the speaker of it.
Yeah, no, I just muted mine because I'm talking to a brother right now that's trying to get into it. I'm trying to help him get back on.
Okay.
Okay, mashallah. That's Sheikh Shabazz. He's up in here. Alhamdulillah, shukrillah. I think he's up in here right now. So as soon as he get in, we're gonna start. And everybody else just catch up in and catch up, inshallah.
No.
Alaikum Sheikh.
Alaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah, shukrillah.
Alaikum Sheikh Harun.
Okay, so inshallah ta'ala, other brothers is coming in, so we're gonna start just to conserve some time because we got a couple of things that we want to share, with the brotherhood that we feel that's extremely important for our survival as a people and our survival as Muslims, in this political spirit that we've been caught up in. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful, send peace and blessings upon our beloved Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and his companions. We start this meeting off today. Hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, to have some success with developing a pure brotherhood and a pure trust, because that's where everything is headed. And that's where everything should have went in the beginning from Jump Street. So inshallah ta'ala, we'll start today by defining, what we mean, what we've been talking about for years about nationality, the proper Islamic organization to establish in order to represent that, and our proper status here as Muslims in America. Inshallah ta'ala, I'm gonna hand it over to Mustafa Bey and let him start off. And then inshallah ta'ala, we're gonna go into some documentation that we already got put up to show some proof and evidence where these things have been hidden in clear sight. Inshallah ta'ala. You gotta unmute yourself, Mo.
Oh, me or you?
No, Mustafa Bey.
Okay, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
You're not in the picture, baby. Just sit over there and leave me alone.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
We can hear you well, Mo.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, okay. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Harun.
Walaikum salam.
And everybody else, salams to everybody else. I'll just start with this. We all know pretty much, the general history of the so-called African American and our endeavors and plights for freedom. We know that. Let's just start with the so-called 13th Amendment. That's to say slavery was abolished with the 13th Amendment. We know about the clauses in the 13th Amendment about unless you commit a crime or so on and so forth, right? But what we don't realize is that once they freed a people, the people had the rights to self-determination. The people did not have to jump on board with the U.S. body politic in the form of the 14th Amendment. We know that they've told us that the 14th Amendment granted us citizenship. But when you check the record and you find out that that's not so, and that they never had a proper quorum to even establish that as an amendment, and that those 7 or 6 states that seceded from the Union, it was a big turmoil. So in order to
Put yourself on mute, Mo.
Somebody got some noise coming through. Some wind blowing or something.
Everybody mute yourselves except for him.
Yeah, everybody need to mute because I hear a vacuum or something.
There you
go. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so basically, our acceptance of the 14th Amendment, even though it wasn't properly ratified, put us in the trick bag. It's basically a fraudulent status that the U.S. government uses to do business with us. We lose sight of the fact that this corporation called the United States is basically just a corporation like any other, and it's in business with us. We don't have to agree to everything that comes down the pipe. But when you accept the 14th Amendment status, what's happening is you become the beneficiary of the Queen of England's trust. This is what they did as responsible stewards to a people who were stateless, no nationality, basically, you know what I'm saying, in regards to international law. And so they did what they thought was the proper thing and created what's called a Sedic trust. The Sedic trust is established whether you know it or not. And so when we find ourselves in situations where you might need some assistance and you might go down to the local building, government assistance building, and you apply for these forms, you apply on these forms, what's happening is as the beneficiary, they're executing their trust. These trustees are granting you the benefits that you got coming as a beneficiary of the Queen of England's trust, right? But this trust extends beyond just that. It also extends to the very places you go to worship. The fact that you go or our people go and file for what they call a religious exemption status through the 501c3, again, you're entering in their trust. And so they grant you a status, but they also regulate you in the same process. And there's certain things that are happening to our community where we get caught up with Department of Child and Family Services and these other quasi-government agencies that are exercising the trustee position over you, and we don't know what's going on. Our children get taken from us. Long story short, there's means and methods to combat all that, but it all goes back to your status. So when we say we calling each other to nationality, we're calling each other to the proper order of a society, and we're not outside the purview of the Quran and Sunnah. As a matter of fact, we're using what's been left in place by our forefathers to get back to the original jurisdiction, which is number one, the treaty of Marrakesh, right? That treaty grants us the rights to exist as a people with autonomy, to engage in commerce, and it grants us the equal rights of their citizens without even becoming citizens. And in the treaty, the language extends to these jurisdictions because it talks about any dominion where there's a Muslim who's willing to say, yay, you know what I'm saying? Here I am, you're included. So that's number one. Number two, that treaty was exercised by what's known as the Free Sundry Moors. When they petitioned their government in South Carolina, said we don't want to be liable for the Negro Act. That tell you right there that they were already rebutting the jurisdiction that these people were establishing for them, putting them in a particular category. They categorize you as Negro, and then later as people, free people of color. All these, what are called badges of slavery, continue to operate in your life today because they're the basis and nexus of your contract with the United States. So from that point, let me back up a minute. Before the United States was even established, they had the British Crown had its own struggles. Those struggles extended over here. When they came over here with this commercial endeavor, they had debts that they had to pay off. We became the source of paying off all these debts, right? But in the process, they gave us certain remedies because they were following international law and protocol. So because they went bankrupt, quite naturally, we're bankrupt. But what do you do in a bankruptcy? They gave us a remedy by saying that they would pay off all the public debt. But if you don't know how to access them I would say, exercise your beneficiary status by having them do what they said they would do, then you're going to keep working hard, trying to pay off these bills with the sweat of your brow. You know what I'm saying? We've been told to work hard, work hard, work hard. But at the same time, we're spending our labor and we're not getting justly compensated for it. So the methodology is to learn how to access your benefits without putting forth all your labor and not getting compensated. I don't want to get too far out there because I want to make sure people are following. I know that some of this information lately has become popular and people are talking about this and talking about that, but it's really a little more layered than it might seem. So, we've been studying this for years and we don't want to just jump out there and do nothing, without properly investigating. And so we've taken our time. We've cracked the codes of how they operate in their trust. And if you don't establish your own trust, then you're just going to be what's called basically a surety to pay off all their debts. So I'll stop right there, and we can get a little more deeper if people want to get a little more deeper, but that's just the basis of it. This is just a call for people to organize themselves properly according to Islam, right? Because we can do a whole lot of things as a Muslim people that we don't know we can do. We think that we are shackled, but that's not us. We confound and confuse our situation, and it's unfortunate that our counterparts, our family members who are still under Christendom, those things apply to them. So another thing that I noticed that we as so-called African Americans do when we talk and we act like we talking for people, all our people in general, and we can't do that. You can't mix you can't mix those statuses because those people belong to the United States, literally. And that's just the bottom line, and when we tell them that, some people want to come out of that. They want to break them chains and they change their lives and whatnot. I talk to them every day and they trying to come out of that. But for some reason, you tell the Muslim this, he got a problem. He got a resistance to it that's unfounded based on popular sentiments that have come through the lines of communication behind. One person might not like something and that becomes popular, and it descends down into the communities. And I've seen it, and I'm going to just say it. The brother Muhammad Sharif has done a great disservice to our people by taking the stance that he's taken against Moorish nationality, unjustifiably so, because of his own personal feelings about what happened in Timbuktu. And that's just the way I feel about that. He's done blocked a whole lot of people that was interested in their freedom, and now they go reverting back to 14th Amendment citizenship as if there's some type of freedom in that. You can't get nowhere talking about you African American, Negro, Black, or colored. And the challenge has been there, and I see ain't nobody made no progress on it yet. So our brother has went to Morocco, has already established the protocol for how to correct status on that end, right? But you got to complete the job on this end. And so that's what we're trying to teach our people, how to correct their status, how to get your children back, how to take the government out of your life as a third party intervener, how to get him out of your marriage dictating what you can and can't do or what has to. See, they're operating your whole life as if it's in probate, because when you're born, they declare you dead. They do a probate on you once you're born. You see what I'm saying? So if our people have not developed an interest in things of this nature, then God help us, because this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. And they're expecting you to do it once you become of legal age. That's why people are considered wards of the court. People are considered mentally incompetent. They call them minorities. You ain't got all your faculties yet. You are not in a position to assume the role over your estate, your trust estate. And so that's the education we've been lacking. And once we sophisticate ourselves and develop the knowledge to operate this vehicle called a trust, then, a lot of our problems will go away. You know what I'm saying? And then we can get back to real ownership, because anything you're doing in a transaction and you involve Federal Reserve notes, you don't own it. You are a debtor in possession. That's why when you even look up in the real estate codes and the property laws, they'll tell you there's different kinds of ownership. They'll start out with a fraud and call you tenants in common. You can't be a tenant and an owner at the same time. But the language is right there in your face. And I say that specifically because I know you know something about real estate, Harun Shabazz. You can't be a owner and a tenant. So, they do that with you. They do that with your marriage. They do, it go, from day one when you hit the ground here. There's certain things that we're supposed to do. They done tricked our mothers in the informant. They called you an informant right there on the birth certificate. The fact that in England in 1066, when William the Conqueror took control, he switched the law form from the feudal system to the law, what's called lex mercantilia, or the law merchant. And so they brought contract law with penalties, fines and fees onto their into their realm. That allowed them to survive because they was basically broke during the Crusades. They had a lot of debt. So these people was looking for how to get the money. You know the story about how they was looking for gold when the Spaniards came over here. All that goes back to the Crusades. They was in dire straits. But what happened in I believe it was 1213 when King John was in control and the Magna Carta took place, the Catholic Church reversed the Magna Carta and said that it was done under threat of coerce because they had him at the knife point and made him sign those rights that gave those so-called common man rights. That came over here, but the Catholic Church was involved because the Catholic Church, King George surrendered his whole realm to the Catholic Church and put it under a trust. So anytime the Catholic Church is involved, the Queen of England is involved, they got a thing going on. They got a dual partnership. When they established the first colony, that was them. They were both here. The Catholics have done all the educating, they did all the colleges, the Jesuit universities and all that. And that's how they picked all our leadership off also, because they picked them off by hand, literally. You. And they allowed them to establish their little Masonic organization in 1775 and so on and so forth. And ever since then, certain parts of our community have been taking us this way, the other part been taking us that way, and we can't get nowhere with that. We need to extricate ourselves from all that as Muslims. We don't need to be caught up and intertwined in their body politic because their aspirations aren't the same as ours. But if we don't have the wherewithal to see this for ourselves, then, you can see the future, the writing's on the wall, and it ain't complicated. You know what I'm saying? Once you establish your trust, right, and you enter or execute that treaty, the Article 6 of the Constitution tells you that treaty becomes the law of the land. You don't need their codes and regulations to regulate your life no more because you're an autonomous community.
Yeah, so
This is what we've been talking about, and we've been calling the people for 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah, sound like Mo. So let's do this. Alhamdulillah. Let's pull up some of these records because we got like 20 more minutes. So what I want to do now is I want to pull up some of the records, and to add to this, I want to just take you down memory lane like real quick, just so you get the gist of where this is coming from. So when we talk about law, like what Mustafa Bey is talking about, and you look at our jurisdiction, the jurisdiction is someone who says they has authority over you or some type of oversight. You know what I'm saying? So when the United States say that, they're assuming that you took the oath of allegiance to them, and we all know what that oath of allegiance is. Well, that oath of allegiance is not permissible for a Muslim to take because our oath of allegiance is Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. We bear with it there's no deity but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Muhammad alayhi salam is the last and final messenger of Muhammad alayhi salam. This particular oath of allegiance is within the nationality clause of the United States law, where it says that anybody who took an oath of allegiance to a foreign subject is no longer a U.S. citizen. And a U.S. citizen is not what we think as an American citizen or someone who's born as an indigenous human being or flesh and blood man on the land called America. The U.S. government is a corporation according to their law, which is Title 28, Section 3002 as subsection 15. It says that the United States is a federal corporation. So who's ever a citizen of the United States is a corporate citizen, not an actual real citizen. Because there are different types of citizenships within the Constitution. But where does that lay us at as Muslims? When we talk about citizenship, oath of allegiance, where does that put us at? Well, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the Quran? You know what I'm saying? Look at the you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says in the hold on for a minute. Let me share my screen real quick.
I apologize for my passion, Mo.
Oh no, alhamdulillah. I just want to pull up some records real quick. You know what I'm saying? So we can really get an understanding of where we're headed with this. Okay, I'm sharing thing. Okay. So as we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la takhunu Allah wa rasuluhu wa takhunu amanatikum wa antum ta'lamun. Allah says, "O you who believe, do not betray Allah nor his messenger or your trust while you know." So, you know, there's an ayah in the Quran that tells us specifically about trust and how to deal with one another when it comes to trust. Because you can't establish a real brotherhood without amana, without trust. That is everything in Islam, you know, and amana between you and I. So when we have an amana, a trust between you and I, that trust get expanded into what we call the trust organization. That means that every man is a trustee of his home. Every woman is a trustee of her husband. So this has already been laid down for us in the Quran and the Sunnah. Because Rasulullah said, "Kullukum ra." Every last one of you are a trustee over his shepherd. You know what I'm saying? So as men, it's obligatory upon us to come together and establish a trust organization to where we sit down with one another and establish who we are as a people to present that to a people who claiming that we don't have no status otherwise. Perfect example. The Treaty of Morocco. There's a lot of questions around the Treaty of Morocco and how this treaty came about and who does it apply to. Well, the deep thing about it is that the treaty has not even been presented to us in any educational format. We've never heard of the treaty in school. We've never heard of it in any type of African American history course. The Department of Education has not put Moorish nationality or Moorish history a part of the courses in the colleges. So of course, this history is something that you would have to open up the books and dig into to find it yourself, because this is where they hit it at. If you look at this this website here, which is the Founders Online, this is the complete Moroccan treaty right here, the Moroccan American Treaty of Peace and Friendship on June 28th. Now just look at the language of what it says in Article 16. It says right here. Now this is 16 articles. 25 articles. This treaty was signed in 1786. The American government didn't produce a constitution to govern themselves until 1787. So what was they doing prior to that? They was governing themselves according to the treaty that they had established internationally. So that means that they were actually under Islamic law. Whoever knows this, of course they was going to hide this. You know what I'm saying? This is an Islamic agreement between a proper Muslim authority and the United States government. And look what it says right here. It says in Article 16, it says, in case war between the parties, the prisoners are not to be made slaves, but to be exchanged one for another, captain for a captain, an officer for an officer, and one private man for another. And if there shall prove a deficiency on either side, it shall be made up by the payment of 100 Mexican dollars. That's some powerful language right there. In 1786, when they were trading slaves, well, they had a treaty to say that they couldn't enslave Muslim. Now they can enslave a regular African who didn't have no deen, who wasn't under the Islamic jurisdiction. And of course, some Muslims probably got caught up in that whole slave trade too. But this was an agreement between the United States, and whoever executed this treaty was automatically free. You had to be under some type of Islamic jurisdiction or authority, and even order to push the line against slavery. And this is when it was done. The first time that this treaty was executed was right here under the Sundry Moors Act in 1790. These Muslims in 1790 were caught up in a war between them, the Moroccan king or the Moroccan Sultan at that time, and against a Kafir African nation, and they were captured. And these Africans sold them into slavery. They ended up in South Carolina, and in South Carolina, they stayed in slavery for almost like 10 years. They ended up buying their freedom and got up out of slavery. But then they seen that there was a law that was governing so-called dark-skinned races of people, and they said, "Wait a minute, that's the Negro Act. We don't want to be judged and ruled according to the so-called Negro Act." So this is the first time that the status of a Negro was actually challenged in 1790, not in 1913 by Noble Drew Ali. This was way prior to that. These were Muslims who had recognized that we have a political connection between you and us. And that agreement and that contract stated that you cannot make us slaves, and they were free. But look at the historic understanding of America. You got the North and the South. The South is doing what? Instituting slavery. The North is trying to adhere to this Moroccan treaty, trying to free people from slavery. They go to war. We get caught up in the mix of it, and then we take two sides. One fight for the Confederate flag, and another one fight for the North American flag. Well, we were supposed to take this treaty and get up out of there. The proof of it, look at the Constitution. Article 6 is Mustafa Bey says what? It says, "This treaty shall be the supreme law of the land, and any treaty written thereof." That means that you got two authorities. You got a constitutional authority, you got a treaty authority. What was the first treaty that they signed? The treaty that was written with a Muslim sultan in 1786. So that treaty becomes the operation by which Muslims are to look to for our so-called operation within the United States government, and not under the United States government. We was never supposed to be a part of them. And it says that in a Dred Scott decision, if you go read the case law, it says that the so-called African-American or black man or colored, the term they used at the time, was not intended to be a citizen of the United States government, because that's for them and their children. That's their posterity that they created for themselves. We were already here. You know what I'm saying? So the treaty was put in place for us to preserve ourselves. But because this treaty has not been proliferated by Muslims, it hasn't been researched into by so-called scholars that are actually over here and know these things and are failing to expose these things to us so that we can correct our status. Thus comes out the 501c3. Most masjids in the United States of America fail for one reason, because they're under the 501c3. The 501c3 specifically cannot involve itself in political matters. Well, everything revolving a so-called black man or African American is all political. So you can't even get on that side and correct things for your people if you operate on the 501c3. It says that right in the code. All you got to do is go look at it. So what is the way out? Allah says in the Quran, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْهُ مَخْرَجًا. Whoever decides to obey Allah's commands and avoid his prohibitions, then he gives him an escape route out of all his situations. So if we desire yuqimu salah, to establish the prayer, wa yu'tuna zakat, to give the zakat as a political system that can help us come up out of this economic embargo that they got against, the United States, Europe, wherever they got it going on, that our zakat system can deal with all of the matters that we're dealing with. It acts as a system that will take care of the poor, but it also acts as a system that will take care of the entire development of an Islamic society, an Islamic community, or an Islamic nation right here in America. The proof that we can do this because we were already a nation before they got here. They signed treaties with us that we can actually perform this and do this within the sphere of our own land. We was never supposed to become U.S. citizen. I pledge my allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. You know what I'm saying? This was takbir, the half takbir. We was never supposed to be a part of that. And any Muslim who believes that, I mean, think about it. What does Allah say in the Quran? Is there any law here besides Allah? So I can't even recognize the Constitution as being law. I could recognize it being a tool that I possibly could use to get in certain places and get out, but the treaty is what we mandate upon the government and what we force them to understand, that this is how we operate. And that has to be done openly. It can't be done by one or two brothers in a private. It can't be done by 2 or 3 brothers just saying this. This has to be a whole body of Muslims, just like it was done under the Sunday Moors Act, that's informing the government that, look, we are Moors. And anybody that got a problem with the term Moor, the term Moor did not derive from the Europeans. This is not no Latin word. It's not a Greek word. It's not a word that derived from Spain, and it's not a word that derived from the United States. If you go look up the etymology dictionary and you look up the term, they'll tell you right there in the dictionary that this term is probably from the indigenous people themselves. Well, we as Muslims فَيَتَبَيَّنُ, as Allah said in the Surah Al-Hujurat, whenever a kafir brings you information, فَيَتَبَيَّن, that you have to clarify that this information is the truth. And since people have come to us saying, oh, this Moorish nationality thing is something that Noble Drew Ali came with, well, the proof of it is right here. You're looking at the screen. 1790 is when the Moorish Hundred Act went into place. Noble Drew Ali didn't come with this organization until between 1913 and 1928. So this is prior to him. You know what I'm saying? He was drinking off the information that we drinking off of to establish this organization. But we were supposed to take this mantle as Muslims and spread this to our people and even convince our non-Muslim families that you are more too. You need to take your shahada and be Muslim and get up under this Islamic jurisdiction, because this is your only protection outside of the European colonialists. If you stay over there with the king, then this is the law that you gotta hear by. And of course, we know them laws are oppressive. But if this is the great dawah, the great movement, if we don't do this, then we're gonna suffer ourselves, and our people is gonna continue to suffer in them streets because they don't know their history. If we just go 1 year before 1492, we'll see a whole totally different Islamic identity for our people. You know what I'm saying? The term Moor in their language, what they said is that it applies to Arabs and Berbers. Now, people said that Berbers were just in North Africa. That's not true. The Berber is a term that goes all the way from so-called the Horn of Africa all the way across to the Americas. It comes from the Berber languages that means Murakush. You've been seeing this word and seeing it everywhere. Everybody said Maracas, Maracas. Well, the history behind Maracas is that the reason why it was named that name, the reason why the country was given that name, is because of a 10th century document that this lady named Suzanne Seabright, and I'll pull it up right here. This is what she said. And if you look at it, it said the founding of Maracas. And I'm gonna get right to the point because I don't want to read all this stuff. It said it was not until 1070 that the advancing Saharan Almoravid army under Abu Bakr, having conquered Sijilmasa, which is a place in the south of Morocco where most of the dark-skinned Africans are at, in Fez, which is in the north. Camped some 200 meters north of the actual Qutubiyya Masjid, which is also in Morocco, where Abu Bakr decided to found a new city, a plain, a river, a well, and a suitable stone for building rendered the choice. What's that? Okay, let me get to the point. Okay, here it is right here. It says, this name was mentioned for the first time in an 11th century manuscript in Qutubiyya Library in Fez and meant the country of the sons of Cush. Of course, you got in brackets, black people. So this term Maracas in Arabic, in the Arabic letters, but in the Berber language, because the Berbers didn't have an alphabet to construct their language. So they used the Arabic language when they became Muslim to start write their history. And they said that this in their language, the term Moor or Amuru or Moro means the land belonging to the people that were descendants of Cush. Now, I mean, historically, whoever said this, now whoever will put this information out there, a lot of people from what we get have put out there that if this name was founded by the Europeans. Well, this is a European lady who's writing the history of our people and telling us who we are. Now, I was fortunate enough to go to Morocco and go to the library and Qutubiyya University and speak to the librarian myself. I speak Arabic. I don't have to, take her information for it. And I was able to actually see and view the document and get a copy of where this information is at. And it's there. It says that the land of the Moroccans, it means the land belonging to the people of Kush. So Moors are the descendants of Kush. We're the original Kushites. That's who we are as a people. And we know the Kushites spread all over. The dark-skinned race of people, we spread all over the world. And the Europeans, they know this. They know this. This is clear. They know this in their history. They know this in their records. This is in their historical makeup, and this is in their minds. But in order to overshadow all this and remove us from the human family, like we don't have a proper bloodline, they remove the father about the situation and place us in a position of just having a mother. And in Islamic law, that's called Ibn al-Farash. That's called the son of the bed. And according to the Sharia, one who is born of a Farash, Ibn al-Farash, he's either an orphan or he's a child of a fornicator. And he's not given Islamic rights in the religion of Islam, such as being an imam, such as being an emir, being a khalifa, or being a sheikh, or some of those things. This is actually in there. So Look at how we've been played by the Europeans. If we don't claim our nationality and our bloodline as to who we are and start to claim some of these rights that are already out there for us, such as the Moroccan Treaty, such as the Sons of Moors Act, such as Article 6 of the Constitution. These are things that our forefathers fought for, our Muslim forefathers fought for, that's been clogged up and covered with the term black. And if you look at the term black, just go to the etymology dictionary and look it up. One of the root words of black is called wicked. And as a Muslim, we're not allowed to call each other by disparaging names. So why would we call each other black Muslims, a wicked Muslim? In our minds, we have a political understanding of it that it's some way connected to black liberation. But you can't be wicked and trying to and fight for liberation at the same time. You know, we only fight for the sake of Allah. We don't fight for for our race to become free or anything like that. The way our race and our people become free is by becoming Moors Muslims. This is a status that's already been given to us, and this is what we've been trying to get to our people. But we got a certain group of scholars, so-called scholars and students and stuff like that, that have been misguiding people and telling them a European side of Moorish history, but they won't tell them the Moor side of Moorish history, such as Africa. Where's Africa at? Everybody say Africa. Africa was a place that was originally in the north, in Tunisia, in Libya. Those were considered Africans. Well, those people are considered Moors. So if you're an African, you're a Moor. If you're a Moor, you're an African, synonymous term. It don't take you out of the realm of executing the treaty. You know what I'm saying? So those who are saying, oh, African, I'm African. Well, you just said you're a Moor, because Africans are Moor. If you go to Morocco today, you're going to see Ifriqiya written all over the place. We're Africans. And that's the origin of the term Africa, where it comes from the north, not from the west, such as some of these so-called historic scholars have tried to explain. What these people have done, they have misplaced the historic record, and they're giving you a European side of a historic record that we need to study and begin to give to our people. And I got a question. Don't you think this history, if we was to educate our people and create a system where we can actually teach our children and our people this historic record, don't you think that'd be a change in the mentality and the mind state of someone who thinks that he was freed in 1865, he was Christianized by the Romans, and then all of a sudden he went through the Black Revolutionary period and all this kind of stuff and became some type of revolutionary, and then Islam came, and then he became Muslim? That's not the historic record that we was given. That's the historic record that was created. You know what I'm saying? And that history is why we as a people are suffering in America to this day, because the real history has not been told. If you go to a search engine and you put in the term black, what Islam you gonna come up with? Nothing. If you go put in African American, what Islam is that gonna take you to? Nothing. But if you put more up in there, you're gonna see the same color people, just with different kind of clothes on, from a different part of the land, with different traditions from the European. So this what we're doing is actually a real revolution and attack against European colonialism, because this is where the fight began at. It started with Muslims from Africa, from the Moorish lands, against the Europeans. I think we conquered them for 700 years. That's a long time for a European to be still walking around talking about I'm pure European. I don't think so. Not the 700 years. Ain't nothing pure up in there. They all got Africanoid, Moorish blood in them. And they're hiding these rights from us because they don't want us to do what? Claim our land. This is the land claim. When you got a father, your father has a property, that property is trickled down through a trust, it's given through an inheritance, and that means that you got it. It's yours. So somebody is misplacing the rights of our people. They taking our names, they taking our land, they taking our history. They putting us in a public trust. I mean, how many children have been put into the system because no one was able to challenge them with this history. No one was able to challenge them with this law. Under the Sons of Moors Act, you can't do that to us. We got a treaty with y'all. We haven't broke the treaty. Why are you people breaking the treaty? But what they done, they've removed this history, and they put us in a state of anger to where now we just go out and commit crimes. And then we end up falling under the 13th Amendment of the Constitution, where it specifically states you can be enslaved if you commit a crime, or they transform it to a voluntary contract where they say, you know what, you can become a slave if you volunteer, such as going to the DMV and getting a driver's license. There's nothing wrong with having a driver's license, but know how to get it. There's nothing wrong with traveling with an identification card, but know how you are signing. It's a contract that precedes that. And the law tells us before we agree are signed to a contract, we must know what we're agreeing to. And these people have made these particular contracts, hidden contracts, where they've taken some type of authority over us and placed us within their jurisdiction. And that's why they can do what they want to do to us. You know what I'm saying? And it's on us to change that situation. I mean, it's on the elders, it's on the scholars, it's upon anybody that has any type of authority over people, that they begin to spread this knowledge and come together as a union. Now, how do we perform this particular action that we've been going through? Mustafa was talking about the trust. Okay, everybody know about organizations in America. Everybody have tried to get one. They try to get LLCs, S corps, C corps. They've tried to get 501c3s, nonprofit organizations. These are the only type of corporate structures that have ever been given to the so-called Black people. You know what I'm saying? These are, and don't get me wrong, these are good corporate structures, but they're not to be structured the way we have structured them or the way we've been taught the structure. The trust is the only way that you are to have those particular organizations. The reason why, under the trust, it says this in trust law: a trust can be established for any specific purpose that you desire, except for criminal crimes. Boom, what does that mean to us? Oh, we got the right to go and establish our Islamic organization under trust law. And trust law means what? There are three things for a trust to come into motion. There's a grantor, there's a trustee, and then there's the beneficiary. Them are the only three positions that are on the trust. And then you have your board of trustees, right? Your board of trustees are the men who are the fathers and husbands of their families, or just the men of their that have some control over their communities. This is how you do what Allah said in the Quran: "Washawarahum." Establish a council, take counsel with the believers. Well, that's what a trust is. It's a council of men that are coming together, that establish themselves in trust and nationality in order to move out to perform the Islamic obligation that we've been obligated to perform. As Allah said, we have to establish the prayer. We have to establish the qibla. We got things that we must do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Rasul alayhi salam said, Bunya al-Islam ala khamsatin. Islam is established upon 5 pillars. That means that we are builders. We have to build an Islamic community. We can't go file for one under a 501c3. That's not how we build a community. And this is not the attack of the Muslims out there, but those institutions have failed us in our growth and development as Muslims, and they have not allowed us to practice Islam the way we should be able to practice. If you go to Robertson, you go in that Jewish area over there, they got a whole Jewish area. They didn't have to go to the desert. They didn't have to go to the mountains. They went right across the street, and they said, this is the Jewish area. And they established everything under a trust. Perfect example. You got non-statutory laws in America, then you got statutory laws. Well, statutes are just what they're supposed to be. I think the Rasul alayhi salam, when he came up with the message of Islam and they took over Mecca, they destroyed all the statutes. SubhanAllah. They got rid of them. So America done reversed their psychology and said, oh, we're just going to create statutes, but we're going to make them into words. We're going to spell them out now. We're not going to build a statute. We're just going to put it in the form of a word, and then we're going to tell everybody to adhere to this statute, worship this statute, fear this statute. You know what I'm saying? Don't seek refuge in this statute. When you go to the court, pray for your relief. That's what they say on their documents. Prayer for relief. We can't pray to them, but this is what they have created. The reason why we know this stuff, because we have been in court challenging them on these things already. This is not nothing that we haven't done. We talking about things that we have actually done, things that we've been to court and challenged, because I'm going in there with the staff of Moses against Pharaoh. You got to go in there with the Quran and Sunnah. You can't go in there like, oh, I'm under the Romans jurisdiction. I'm under the Romans authority. No. So how we establish a proper Islamic organization in America is under a non-statutory trust. The non-statutory trust is outside of the United States jurisdiction. You can look it up. It's a valid organization that takes its authority from the people and not from the government. Anytime you take your authority from the government, they have an oversight, an overseer that have already written up the laws and bylaws that you have to adhere to, and you already going into it like, if I don't do these certain things, they're going to snatch the rug from under me. So what happens when you say you're a Muslim organization, you're a 501c3, you mess up on your taxes, something goes wrong somewhere, and the IRS say, oh, we're going to stop you from practicing your Islam until you get the book straight. Well, under a trust, they would never be able to do that. Under nationality, they would never be able to do this because guess what? The Negro laws that will never change. The Negro law just changed the penal code, family code. This is where the Negro law applies at. A marriage code. You got, you get into a marriage in America, it's a surrogate type of husband situation where these people are telling you how to perform an act. Well, we as Muslims have a way out of that. For people that have signed up to be a tax shelter, or people who have signed up to be an international monetary fund or international monetary unit for the debt of the United States of America, that's them. If they've grown and they've done that, that's on them. But if they want to change that, this is the methodology to change it. And this is all we've been saying for the last 20 years. This is out of sincerity. We didn't ask somebody to pay for this information. This is stuff that we came across because we were fighting against the system. We were up against, our back was put up against the wall. So when our back was put up against the wall, we did what Allah said in the Quran, Iqra, Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaqa. Read in the name of your Lord who created. Wait a minute. These are commands. These are things that Allah commanded me to do. These are not warrants. Allah said, Iqra, read. Okay, bam, what's up in the books? Let's read. Okay, something went wrong here. Somebody done changed my status to something else. They're using laws against me that don't even apply to me. But if I don't say nothing, if I don't make the challenge, if I don't make the claim, it's considered as abandoned property. And we all know what happens to abandoned property under real estate laws. Anybody else that finds it can claim it. And this is what the Europeans have done. We've abandoned the trust, so they have created the trust and have claimed our trust and put themselves in our position. And that's what our mission is to do, is to inform Muslims that we have the right and ability to transform this whole mess that we've been caught up in and get us right back in the proper authority and proper jurisdiction so that we can operate as Muslims, so that our children can operate as Muslims, so that we can one day, with the intentions, develop a full functional Islamic city right here in America. And we can do that, but we need all hands on the ground. We need all feet on the ground. We need all economics on the ground. I was telling the Imam this the other day. I said, listen, man, why don't y'all come together and get all the zakat money and pool it together as under one Baitul Mal, and let's start buying up all these properties. We know what it is, what it is to go get these properties and stuff like that, and get an area and just declare it. This is us, and get an Islamic zip code where now the government knows that the particular area is not taxed. We got the Religious Land Use of Institutionalized Persons Act that says that a land that's used for religious purposes is not taxable. This is in the law. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the information that we're saying is not stuff that we just, decided to come up with, or, say we just gonna go out there and start, telling Muslims to just do this because we was mad and pissed off because of the situation that we in. This is what the law says. And we're lawmen. Muslims are lawmen. We abide by Allah's law. So when the law tells us something, that's over their law. They also got something in law called conflict of laws. So just because they wine is permissible, that means I can go drink? No, that's a conflict. Conflict of interest. You can't drink that. Can't sell that. Can't do that. There's a conflict of interest here. So inshallah ta'ala, we've already established organizations, for this, and the organizations are just left dormant because we don't have a body of men to sit down with and go over this information with, so that we can actually start applying these rules and laws. And that's why we've been reaching out with our hearts. Wallahi alim. We've been reaching out with sincerity to the Muslims. We're not asking for no money. We ain't doing no fundraisers. You know what I'm saying? We ain't done none of that. Everybody that has seen me and Mustafa Bey, we've always just came with the information to show Muslim, man, we got a different route. Like now, I got children that I want to hand my Islam down to. I don't want them to just be walking around as a Hafiz Quran in America and then getting caught up in some of this stuff they're getting caught up in out here. And that's the reason why they're getting caught up, because we're not creating a shelter. They got the shelters. You know what I'm saying? We got Muslim sisters that are actually in Christian shelters. Where's the zakat money going? We got brothers on downtown on Skid Row living in tents, coming out there whenever somebody go down there and feed the people. Assalamu alaikum. You got like 30 or 40 Muslims down there. Where's the system to save our brothers and sisters? I'm serious. And this is what the mosques are responsible. On Yom Qiyamah, the imams are going to be responsible for this. There's no way around it. They're not going to get away from this with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah's not going to leave them alone. They're not just going to come to Allah ta'ala with all this heavy weight on their back and just walk directly into paradise. There's obligation that we have to establish. And we got to perform this. Our elders did it. You see under the Sundry Moors Act right here, that's why I'm keeping it up. The Sundry Moors Act, you see right there where it says that, you know what I'm saying, the resolution offered the opinion that free citizens of Morocco were not subject to the laws governing blacks and slaves. We Muslims, that ain't that we're not blacks and slaves. Some of them slaves were justified as being slaves because some of them were not Muslims, you know what I'm saying, and some of them were conquered, you know what I'm saying, by way of the sword. So in order to release ourselves from that, we got to just fight back. You know what I'm saying? But the way we already received our freedom, we got Islam, we Muslim, we got a nationality, we Moors. So we have to get that nationality and deen back to our people to show them the umbrella is over here. You got to come up out of the king's kingdom, and you got to come under this Islam. And that's the only way you can save yourself from the tyrannical oppression that's been put against our people, or put upon our people's necks. That's the only way you can do this. And we have to develop societies to where they have somewhere to go. It's almost like giving somebody shahada, but that's a drunk, but you send him right back to the liquor store though, where he got drunk at. Ain't gonna be no Islam out of that. He gonna keep getting drunk. He may still say Allah, but he right there where all the fitness, he came from. He don't have nowhere to go. Same thing with the environments. I mean, you know, we want our children to be good Muslims, but we in environments to where the gangs, you know what I'm saying, and all of us been some way affected by that particular entity. You know what I'm saying? Some of us was raised up in that, and alhamdulillah, Allah blessed us to come up out of that. Some of our children jumped into them tracks, and now, alhamdulillah, because of some of the stuff we doing, the supplication, they done came up out of that. But the fact is, those environments should have never been developed for Muslims. I mean, the thing about do for self, that has always been something that's been in everybody on this particular line's mind at some point in time. Do for self. Or all our forefathers have always said something like this. So how do we do for self? We got to develop our own Islamic organization that has nothing to do with the United States government. And this is not no terrorist type of situation where we saying we're gonna go out there and say F the United States government or something like that. No, they have their way of doing things, and they also have agreed to allow us to do certain things that we can do. As you can see, this is not made up. Sundry Moors Act is not made up. This Moroccan treaty is not made up. You know what I'm saying? This is actually what it is. And if you look at this right here, look at these are not, this is the People's Organization, was founded in 1924. I'm still sharing my screen. It says today in history, Morocco, the first country to recognize the United States. So the United States can't even claim any type of difference against Islam, because the reason why they exist is because Muslims allowed them to exist. And we need to tell the European that. The reason why you're not a British slave, British crown, is because the Morocco, a Muslim government, was the first one to allow you to exist. So no, you can't do my people like that, and we ain't gonna let you. And we're gonna mandate this treaty upon you because it's an Islamic agreement that you made. And if it's not, and if you're not going to adhere to the agreement, then cool. We just going to the next level. We're going to the international courts, and we're gonna sue you there. And then we're going to petition for the Islamic governments around the world to get involved in our Islamic situation here in America, because they got them contracts as well. I mean, it's a can of worms. Somebody got to open it up, though. Somebody got to open up. These people are opening up. They've been on record since when? Since 1924. How many Muslims know this? I mean, look what it says. It says in 1780s, after the independence had been secured, Moroccan pirates threatened American shipping in the Mediterranean. Thomas Barclay, the American consul in France, arrived in Morocco in 1786. There negotiated the Moroccan-American Treaty of Friendship, which was signed later the year in Europe by John Adams and Thomas Jefferson under Sultan Muhammad III. Morocco became at once the first Arab state, the first African state, the first Muslim state to sign a treaty with the United States. That's powerful language. Ain't nowhere in the world we're gonna let them get away with some of the stuff they're doing with this type of contract. And then look what else it says. It goes further. It says Congress ratified the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the two nations when in 1787. SubhanAllah. So they didn't even create a lawful constitution until they was able to get a treaty. So all the people going around saying that the United States created the treaty, the Constitution, based off some Indian treaties that they made prior to that, or the Iroquois and all that kind of stuff, false history, not true. They established their Constitution off the way that the Moroccan treaty was established. That's why you have articles in the Moroccan treaty right here. You have articles, and you see they're properly numbered. And then in the Constitution, you have also articles. They copycatted the Moroccan treaty. They copycatted our authority and our jurisdiction. But it's for us to make the plan. And I'm gonna stop right there, inshallah ta'ala. If we got any questions, you know, inshallah ta'ala, we're open for questions. Mustafa Bey, if you want to proceed with anything else, you know what I'm saying, let's keep going, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Can you hear me? No, I would just add on top of that you know, what the European did was really slick, because in 1775, you know, they established the Delaware Treaty, and then that Delaware Treaty, they used certain language, and it's interesting because there's reason to believe that there were also Muslims amongst the Delaware Indian tribes, what they call the 5 civilized tribes. But not to distract from that, but to say that in that treaty, they declared that in, I believe, 3 generations, that they would become indigenous. So the European looks at himself after those 3 generations as indigenous to the land because he established it in a treaty. And after that, they would move on. You know, they moved next close to Indian tribes and get to know them and exchange furs and all that type of stuff and learn their family names. And then the Europeans start changing their names to those Indian names, and they start assuming that land under those Indian names. And a lot of the European names that we think are European are not even European names. Like, for example, Turner. People thought that was a European name. Brown, that's not a European name either. But these people to assume those names so that they would establish land claims. This whole thing has been a land grab. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm sufficient. I think what you said was sufficient. You know what I'm saying? To at least get a cursory inquiry, get cursory inquiries, or you know, people want to learn a little more about it. You know what I'm saying? I think that what you said was sufficient to spark that type of interest, inshallah. You know, and it's a lot more to it. And it don't stop. You know what I'm saying? Some of what we covering in a little amount of time. So we covering, you know, decades and centuries. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, we just trying to get as much to you as we can in this short time frame. You know, we can assume this reconvene, you know, on a regular. We can get into some real depths of what this is, because, you know, it's something got to change. You got to change the paradigm at some point. You know what I'm saying? And I haven't seen anything on the horizon in our communities that's going to bring this type of empowerment. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's the Black Imams Round Table or anything else that I be listening to these brothers talk about, they keep recycling the same old 1986 ideas, bro. This is not an incense and oil economy. We need to do some different things to empower ourselves. We need to make big moves because we can, but it takes organization. And like you said, trust is the first thing on the table. If I can't trust you, bro, I ain't doing nothing with you. And if you don't think you can trust me, we ain't gonna never get past go. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, one of the things that interests me is how the European get out. You know, he got rules and principles, you know what I'm saying, and maxims for how he conducts himself in these things, and they don't violate them that often. You know what I'm saying? The kind of rules and principles we need to understand that, you know, a workman is worthy of his hire. First thing, if a workman ain't worthy of his hire to you, then you believe in enslaving people. You believe you should get something for nothing. You believe every time you got an issue, you should be able to hit your brother and your brother take it. We can't have that kind of mindset. You see what I'm saying? Another thing is, he who leaves the battlefield first loses by default. We are in a battle with these people. If we just abandon the post, you see what I'm saying, or the office of resistance, then we lose by default. You see what I'm saying? This is generation to generation to generation, man. It ain't, you know, it don't stop. So, you know, I just think that people should be inspired enough to understand that the first thing we all need to work on is getting yourself a family trust. And it need to be a foreign trust. You know why? Because they're foreign to us and we're foreign to them. And that's not a disparaging thing. That's not something for you to feel some kind of way about, oh, I don't want to say I'm foreign because they might kick me out the country. No, foreign is in your status. It's in your status. You see what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with distance or land mass. You know, so we got to bring our understandings up to par, so we even know what we're looking at when we read it. Everybody need to have Black Law Dictionary, Bouvier's dictionary, so that you can understand the terms that are in common usage, you know, in this field of endeavor. You know, if you're studying medicine, you need a medical journal to understand medical terms, you know, but that's pretty much it, Mo. You know what I'm saying?
MashaAllah, Mustafa, Luqman, I think you raised your hand. You got to unmute yourself. You got a question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So basically, what I said before is there was a, you know, the term that people use, breaking generational curses.
Yeah.
Generational curse. That's actually the generational curse. That's actually the real generational curse. Not being in your proper status and being voluntary servitude by the colonial European system that still thrives under our people.
Yep, you right about that.
So you know how people say they're breaking the general curse basically well, but a slave can't own anything. You explain like the people that say, well, I got a nice house, I got a nice car, I got a nice job. You know, so I broke the generational curses. You know, I'm a part of a sorority organization. You know, what is that? What they think that they're part of? Stolen history, regurgitated. I'm a Prince Hall Mason. You know, these terminologies that black people, African American use. So how would you explain either of you? How would you explain that for a person to say, well?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna tell you that the first thing that you used right there was the term African American. We are the only people on the planet Earth that have two continental names. So we're being described with two continents. There's the issue right then and there. That means that you don't own no land. You don't have rights to nothing because you don't know who your natural parents are, your mother and your father historically, like everybody else did. As you can see, that term Maracus, it means the people belonging to the land of Kush. The land of Kush is right here in America. We are the original Kushites. That's our original proven bloodline. There's no way around that.
Assalamu alaikum more. I would add this, like I already kind of covered that, you know, you got to understand that when the United States when these colonists decided to break away from their king, that there were groups and individuals who disagreed. And that, like, for example, in Virginia, the House of Burgess or the Lord, whoever that was in Virginia at that time, he granted, said that he would grant freedom to all the slaves in Virginia who would fight for the British. But the same state organ, the House, he was the Lord, they were the House, you know, the House of Commons and all that. The Commons got together and said, no, anybody who do that, you know, we smashing everybody. So it was differences of opinion about this endeavor to declare independence. And central to that endeavor has always been the financial hand. The financial hand is the insurance writers, the underwriters, the people who were basically the money bags, and the money bag has always been loyal to the British Crown. I just explained that the British Crown is the church. It's the Catholic Church. It's the same thing. It's different entities, but they basically are in unison because the King of England surrendered his realm to the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church had an issue with the crown because it was broke, wanted its citizens and nobles to be able to keep its property in the realm. But they were faithful Catholics, many of them, and they wanted to donate their property and they land and bequeathed it to the church. So the Catholic Church smashed on the British Crown. The British Crown had to reverse that in order for King John to stay in power. He surrendered the whole British realm to the Catholic Church. So when they came over here with their first colony, which was the Virginia colony, right? That was a dual endeavor. This is why you have a thing called the District of Columbia, which is cut out between Virginia and Maryland. It's some esoteric, arcane secrets of the temple that these people been working with, and it represents the Virgin Mary. These people are operating their religious order on you. You see what I'm saying? On us, not you, on us, you know? And so, again, part of the belief of Catholics is they believe that the Pope is the Holy Father, right? So his operatives through the crown and their agencies over here have constructed a legal doctrine that says all rights of the parent are derived from the rights of the state. The state is the crown, is the Catholic Church, okay? So that's why they solicit the mother to have the mother fill out the trust certificate, the proof of birth, because she's surrendering an estate to them, bro. If I don't care what you call yourself, if you ain't correcting this, you in the same bag. You see what I'm saying? So again, it's all in the status. If you've been declared civilly dead, commercially dead, and you going into probate from birth, right? And they create an all capital letter fictitious entity to deal with because you're dead. You see what I'm saying? The knowledge is behind understanding how to assume control over the fiction and to create the separation between you and the fiction. So if you don't understand public and private, then you'll be in the mix, bro. You'll be taken advantage of. So, you know, probate is what it's all about. It's all probate with them and administering a bankruptcy, no matter what you call yourself. Muslim, Jehovah's Witness, it don't matter to them. Real talk. They do them the same way.
And let me ask you a question about what you said about the birth. The reason why they put the mother's name on the birth certificate. Why don't they let the father put his name on the birth certificate?
Because the Pope is his father.
There we go.
The Pope is the Holy Father. That's why.
So that's
why the father's name ain't on the birth certificate.
So now you see the reason why we really should be correcting our status, because there's a reason why the mother's name is on the birth certificate and the father, who is the authority, who has the bloodline that the child connects back to, is not on the birth certificate.
Right. Also, everybody should look up Pope Innocent III, because Pope Innocent III basically is the one who had a hand in this, you know, the status again, man, you know, our brothers they want to do good. They want to say, oh, we're going to establish an Islamic community, and they go establish 501c3 and basically put the whole demonstration under the Vatican. How you gonna put the masjid under the Vatican, bruh, and under the IRS? That's asinine in its purest form.
And I don't want to make.
Let me say this. I'm condemning the action for lack of knowledge. I'm going to do that, because if you're going to take a position of leadership like that, you need to be thorough. You need to be thorough, because this is a trust, like you just said, bro. This is a trust with Allah. You can't be half-stepping because you want to conduct business and raise zakat money. Man, it's sickening, bro. It's sickening. And you know what else is sickening? When these people are in violation and we don't bring them up on charges. Number one, like, for example, that community in Inglewood. When I found out what they was doing, I wanted to bring them up on charges. I tried to bring it to the community because I thought they was working with some senses of justice. But no, everybody was just concerned about doing business. You see what I'm saying?
We got an example. We got a present day example of what just happened to a masjid under a 501c3. And the reason why I'm talking about this, because they publicized it on Facebook, which was kind of embarrassing. It would have been better if they would not put it on Facebook, which is another social media platform that none of us owns, that everybody can see. They should have just did a fundraiser with the Muslims in the private, but they went with the public with this. What happened to the Lighthouse Masjid up north, they got into a situation with the IRS to where they end up having to pay the IRS an hard-earned income of $60,000 in order to operate as a as as a 501c3 organization. That's completely embarrassing. That means that the people who are claiming that they got all this type of Islamic knowledge don't have no type of knowledge when it comes to operating in America. They can have all the Arabic they want to. They can bring all the scholars over here they have to. But anytime those people fall into a debt situation with the United States government and owe them money and told that you can no longer operate until you pay this money, then you're paying them to practice Islam. In Islam, that's called a dhimmi. That's called a taxpayer.
You've been licensed.
And they
Your dean has been licensed to you.
this on Facebook, which is the reason why I'm even talking about it. What now? There's only a few things could have happened. Either they mismanaged the money, either they didn't file for their exemption status with the state. Their 501c3 was kind of tricky. Somebody didn't know about management. They didn't have the proper board of trustees, or somebody just thought that because they was a 501c3 that they wasn't taxable for certain actions that the 501c3 is about. Maybe somebody was up in there, using it as a profit organization and thought that they were being examined as a nonprofit organization, but they was using it for profit. So the IRS, boom, they looking at the books. Again, they're able to look into the books and see the records, and they was able to apply the IRS clauses to that Islamic organization and tell them you have lost your 501c3 status until you pay $60,000. Now, subhanAllah, who pays $60,000 to practice Islam? Who does that? Maybe the question should have been, how do we set up the proper Islamic organization in America to operate to where we don't have the IRS in our Islamic business? Because there is a separation. And by the way, in the IRS, they have forms for specific organizations that they have no control over, like a 98 EIN number, instead of a regular EIN number that's given to a domesticated citizen. Now, trip off this. When was the first time that the word domestic was used in law to apply to a people? The first time that the domestic was used in law was in Spain when they was conquering our forefathers and sending them up out of there and making hijra. They called them mudajjin. This is what they called it. You know what I'm saying? They called them mudajjin. This is what they called them. They called them mudajjin, and that mudajjin was transferred over to what they call is domesticated animals. Mm-hmm. They took that word domestic animals and they transmitted it over here, and they called us domestic citizens. Yep, subhanAllah. So, inshallah ta'ala, man, we got any questions, man, we can open up for questions, inshallah.
Any questions? Inshallah. No questions.
So for
the shy people that's on the phone, what would be the first step that one would do to correct their status?
Want to take that, Mo?
Go ahead, Mo.
I would say the first step is to go get a copy of your birth certificate, right? Some people choose to change their name on the birth certificate and stuff like that, but to me, what it does is just creates a new fictitious entity in your new name. What you need to do is get an EIN for your straw man so that these agencies don't have access to your to your social, number one. Number two is you need to create your family trust for the beneficiary and for your offspring, your progeny and whatnot. And that trust needs to have a foreign address and a 98 number so that it is on the books as a foreign entity. They cannot touch you. cannot tax you, right? So that's where you start. That's where you start. Get your trust in order, and and uh, and establish the layers of privacy. And when you get a trust, you got to make sure, like the brother said, it's a non-statutory trust, because statutes are for government employees. So you got to have a clear idea of what you want to do. Also, Mo, it's a lot of different ways to freak this. Like, certain people like to use their straw man to stay in the sea of commerce, you know what I'm saying, and get down, you know what I'm saying, to get down in commerce, which ain't nothing, that's fine. You got to be able to do that, you know what I'm saying, but you just need to uh 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 get control over the estate. Like, that's why you get that EIN for the straw man, and then you operate that straw man as an estate. And as an estate, you be a trustee, you can expand that estate. So you can enter into contracts, you can do business through it. You know what I'm saying? Inshallah, you got that? Come on, wallflowers. Come on off the wall, wallflowers.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
But I do have another question. My question is, once you take your birth certificate and you establish your EIN, how does that stop them from continuing what they're doing in your name?
Well, hold up. First off, you're breaking up a little bit. I didn't catch the first part of what you said.
Okay. I said, once you get a new EIN, you take your birth certificate, your birth certificate, and you apply for an EIN. How does that stop them from using what they already established with your Social Security number?
It doesn't stop them from doing what they're already doing. It stops anybody going further. What's already being done in the background, those are things you can approach and deal with, and you can shut down those accounts. You can do like I believe it's a 1099-C debt cancellation on all those old accounts. But it depends on what you want to do. If you want to cancel it, or do you want to, claim that, and it depends on how long ago they were also. I hope that helps a little.
Myself. Yeah, we talking. So let me say this. That's a correction of your status in your commercial proper status. Commercially, that's what But as far as like nationality wise, to correct your status on nationality, it's just by recognizing that you are more Muslim and that you have Shahada, and begin to learn the trust laws that apply to us and the laws that don't apply to us. You see what I'm saying? So once we establish trust and a trust organization, then we wouldn't even be operating under a Social Security card anyway. Like, I consider those things like bathroom products. Like, you use a Social Security card when you need one. You got one. We know the process of counseling those things out, but it sometimes it's not proper to counsel those things out. You keep those things and you use it for areas that you need to use it for, such as a personal grantor on a business. If you got a 700 credit score and you got a business, that's for commercial purposes only. You see what I'm saying? That the status we talking about is when you talking about Black, Negro, and colored. and you have to change that status on the record. You have to begin to change this in yourself. You have to wake up and say, I'm not a Negro, I'm not black, I'm not a color, I'm a Moor, and then define what Moor means. You know, Moor is not synonymous with being black. Moor is synonymous with being Muslim. And of course, under Islamic law, we know what laws we have. Now, you know, we just you know, put the information out there that, you know, some people are under the imagination that we can't establish Islam in America, that we don't have the authority to do so, but that's lack of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So the way we correct our status on our, you know, our religious side, you know what I'm saying, or I would say our canon side, is that we have to change how we're being viewed by our specific government. And we have to do that as a people. It has to be a body. It has to be a body, so-called body politic. That this is how we are going to politic with our government. You know what I'm saying? This is how we're going to address them, and this is how we want them to address us. Because if we don't do it like this, then we have black people that are still including us amongst them, and we have Muslims who are forcing and trying to get that status applied to them, such as the minority status. You know what I'm saying? People trying to become Islamic minorities. I mean, how can you become an Islamic minority and you have a prophet like Nabiyyuna Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If this is your master, how can you have a master called the United States government? You know, that's a conflict of interest and a conflict of status. So that has to be addressed. You know what I'm saying? Commercially, that's simple. That's easy. We can address that situation. You know, we can cancel the birth certificate. We don't have to cancel it. We can capture it. We can use it. We can do all that commercially. But when we're talking about the flesh and blood man, that contract is changed under a trust. You know what I'm saying? Like our babies that are born, the babies, there should be a sisterhood that can go back to having babies at the house and know how to perform this specific activity. And we create the birth certificate from the house, not from the hospital. It's the opposite way around. We're doing things backwards. And I would say this like this: if you ever seen a passport document or ever apply for a passport, most people look right over this. But everybody think that you need an ID in order, or some type of ID issued by a state in order to get a birth certificate. Well, until you get a passport. If you go to the bottom, it says right there, all other types of identification. And some of them are called Bible records, some of them are called affidavits and things of this nature. So they have other records that they recognize as proof of identity other than going and signing the contract with the DMV. So that's, you know, these are the statuses that we got to correct. We got contracts that we've involved ourselves in because we just walked up in these places and assumed that the DMV or either the Social Security Administration were evidences of citizenship when they're not. There's nothing, you know, and just to be honest, I've written, you know what I'm saying, the Department of Immigration, and they have all said that there's no proof of any type of document that established the United States citizenship other than for foreigners. Foreigners that come to the country have to take the 14th Amendment oath of allegiance under the executive branch of government. That's citizenship for them. That's not citizenship for us.
That's correct.
So we got a brother on here, Brother Ahmad. Are you still here with us, brother?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam to the catch, man. You got any questions, brother, man?
No, the sister actually ended up answering the question that I was going to ask, inshallah.
Okay.
About the status, inshallah.
Yeah, you know, our status starts with the way we operate as Muslims. So if we establish a 501c3, you know what I'm saying, and then we still go try to say that we're Muslim, that's automatically gonna be a conflict of status right then and there, especially if we become members of such organization. There's nowhere in the world you can have that kind of organization and then go out there and say, you know, I'm a Muslim and I'm free. Now they said, no, you are a religious organization. We don't recognize Islam as a 501c3. We just recognize you as being a religious exempt organization, and these are the laws that apply to you. Bam, and that's it, and that's all. If you adhere to these laws, we will leave you alone. If you break one of these laws, we're gonna break your back. And you know, we just seen that within the Islamic organization up north, where they had to come up. I mean, they could have used the $60,000 a little bit more better than they could have used to pay the IRS. I could bet you that. You know, I mean, we could have come up with all kind of ways that we could have, spent $60,000. But that's what's happening to us, man. It's the leadership is putting themselves in position of leadership, but they don't have the right tools to govern us with. So they using the laws of the Europeans, and that is oppression. And that's called zulm actually in Arabic. It's called
they're not using the
putting
right.
something, they're putting something over somebody, that placing something out of its proper place. And a 501c3 is placing Islam out of its proper place, no matter what nobody say. Calling yourself a Negro, a black or a color, the African American, puts you out of place. Because a lot of us may have emotional sentiments to that term because of the historic backgrounds that a lot of us may have. We may have come up in families where I'm black and I'm proud may have come up, the songs and emotions and stuff like that, or just Black Panthers or the black organizations and stuff like that. But none of those organizations ever had Islam is great or Allah, Allah Akbar behind it. Everybody had in that particular understanding that, hey, we're black and we great. It even got so far that people start saying, to give them type of some izzah, as we call it in Arabic, some type of upper mobility, they start saying black man is God. So I mean, how far down the rabbit hole you gonna follow black people? You know what I'm saying? I mean, how far are you gonna follow them? Because they can go real far out of Islam, as we can see. And if you're a Muslim, you will understand right then and there, like, nah, I'm just some of them, I'm just saying I'm a Muslim. But that could be enough in certain spirits. But your nationality has to come into context because they are applying a national name to you and your religion, whether you know it or not. Nah, bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum. I shot you that little picture I took out the Black's Law Dictionary that, there's actually in the United States, the definition of a black Muslim is a member of the Nation of Islam.
I'm not part of the Nation of Islam. And that's in the Black's Law Dictionary. That's in law. So, I mean, look at what's happening to us, man. Unfortunately, because the Muslims have not applied the command of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, Iqra. Read. Read in the name of your Lord. We have to read. We have to get back into the books. We all feel that something is wrong and something is happening, but we're not learning the proper applications to fix these problems. So we just stuck and saying, oh, the government is oppressive. You know what I'm saying? Well, the government also say, you should have known. And when they say you should have known, they are talking about your parents or your community that you're a part of. Remember this, the Europeans don't have no authority to teach you about Islam because they're not Muslim. They don't have no authority to give you Shahada. They're going to teach you about what they teach their children. If you're amongst their education system, they're going to say, well, we teach, Christian, we teach Christianity, we teach, paganism, you know what I'm saying? We now we even gonna teach homosexuality in the school. So now your children gonna be held bound to study that stuff, even if they go to these home schools. You know what I'm saying? They still are part of these particular educational systems that's teaching them this stuff.
And that's why the 501c3 isn't a correct structure, because if you try and say that, homosexuality is haram in Islam and you can't be coming up in here and no flaming homo in the masjid, state might say otherwise, according to the 14th Amendment. And I just told you that 14th Amendment that ain't even ratified. You know what I'm saying? So at any point in the future, one day, this is an argument that goes on in the United States of America amongst the European communities, right, across the country, specifically in the South, but they in pockets in the North also, right? There's an undercurrent of Europeans that understand that the government that is in position of power right now are basically occupying seats and offices and are doing things outside the Constitution, and they are on a mission to try and take their republic back and its Constitution and so on and so forth. These are a lot of people who follow Trump and whatnot, right? Most blacks get emotional, you know what I'm saying, and think in terms of the civil rights era, You see what I'm saying? And so they get caught in that particular trip, which, you know, whether it's Biden or Trump, we should look at them both the same, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? As far as, but they have an internal struggle amongst themselves. And like I said, historically, there was a struggle amongst being pro Crown or American patriot, right? And so those American patriots, they want their republic back, and they understand what we're talking about now. And they look at us like, when will these blacks wake up? When will these Negroes wake up? You know what I'm saying? You know, don't they know this and don't they know that, right? And they look at your leaders, you know, that don't do anything but confirm the slavery and servitude. That's what, if you're in a position if you're in a profession, right, you have to understand that what they call professions in the United States, it's copywritten. So you're their employee. If you're doing real estate, or if you're doing the law, if you're doing medicine, any of those professions, those are copywritten. And that's why they can do what they do, is like stuff like try and push a vaccine on you, because they don't have to report to anybody else. You see what I'm saying? But the point is coming out from under those things. And that's why what we're trying to tell you, or what we're trying to share with the community, is important, is so you don't have to be subject to these things. Yeah, I just want to point out that 14th Amendment status and how it works against you.
Yeah, we got another number in here. I think this number is 1412. Who's this?
It might be me from Pittsburgh.
Oh, is this brother Ahmad?
This is brother Abdul Rashid.
Oh, Abdul Rashid. Okay, mashallah. Yeah, we're just trying to look. I don't see a name, so alhamdulillah. How you doing, brother?
Alhamdulillah. I tried to get in through the Zoom link. It wouldn't let me, so I just called in.
Oh, subhanallah. Yeah, yeah, that's good. Alhamdulillah. You know, sometimes, you know, if the phone is not compatible with the video stuff, so you know that's why I put both of them in there in case you wasn't able to you know, connect through the video, then you can still call in.
Right.
Yeah. So mashallah. So what community are you a part of, brother?
Say it again.
I said, which community are you a part of?
I go to Masjid Al-Mu'min currently. But I ain't made no bayat to no specific masjid currently. You know what I'm saying? I just came out from prison, so I'm just trying to, you know what I'm saying, stay on my D and get my stuff in order. You know what I mean?
Nah, alhamdulillah, shukrillah. Yep, mashallah. Well, alhamdulillah, shukrillah. So how you feel about the information that you've heard already?
I mean, I already been privy to it, and I definitely, you know what I'm saying, Luke Mom been telling me he gonna try and get me out there, you know what I'm saying, out west, you know what I'm saying, and I'm definitely looking forward to that, you know what I'm saying, because I'm really like tired of my situation here in Pittsburgh, bro. It just seems like it ain't no growth out here.
Okay, alhamdulillah, shukrillah, man. Good, man. Good. Well, mashallah, man. It's good to hear from you, man. Good you home, man. You know, stay home.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Alhamdulillah.
You know, one of the main ways that they catch us up is, you know, as exactly what we said. You know, we start out one way, you know, and then we end up another way. You know, we come into the system as international, you know, monetary units anyway. So, you know, they utilize that to use us for the funding for, you know, their system. There's a way around this and there's a way up out of it. You know, we done laid down the blueprint, you know, and we'll see, inshallah ta'ala, you know, if any of our elders or leaders in our communities will begin to take adhere to this side of information, because it's there. It's not blind. You know, as you can see, you know, well, you probably couldn't see, but a lot of this information, you know, we got it right here on, looked up. It's already in the law. Like, this is not hidden. It's maybe hidden from us because we're not educated in this specific realm of education, or, you know, we don't put ourselves in these type of environments to where these type of conversations are held, you know, we kind of mainstreamed and stuck inside an environment to where it's curtailed to that specific understanding. And that understanding sometimes can put us in a jeopardized situation. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it may put us in prison.
You might want to share.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead, brother.
Okay, so I've been home now since 2016. I'm disabled, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had a spinal injury when I was incarcerated, but like, so like I received Social Security. I really don't want to stay bound to the States. You know, I want to eventually, you know what I'm saying, get out of here and go somewhere where I could go study abroad. I also want to go, you know what I'm saying, so I could go study, and like, so I can go, you know what I'm saying, acquire me some networks for like my company, because like I want to get into merchandising. Like, I do something a little like small scale now, and I got my own products that I make, and most of them are natural products, organic products. So I want to really like get out there and meet the people who are going to be selling me the products instead of going through Amazon and Alibaba and all that. But my question is, because when you first started out, you were speaking about like CYF cases and stuff like that, and I'm currently like in a situation where I have a woman who's pregnant. She was my wife. The situation is like very volatile with us, but like my issue ain't with, you know what I'm saying, rectifying the situation with us, because like, you know what I'm saying, we didn't do all we could. But like, for the sake of my child, being that she has multiple cases with CYF, and she's trying to hold my kid over my head, like once I do, because like what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to like feed her honey until I could establish paternity. But like, once I do establish paternity, what can I do to like, you know what I'm saying, solidify, okay, this is my son, you know, and no, I want him to go in the direction that I'm going. You understand what I'm asking?
If you have your child, if you can't have your child at home safely, no one can do that for you. When you have your child at the hospital, these are the procedures that you should take immediately, or this is what's going to happen. If you have your child at the hospital, make sure you're in the delivery room with your wife. Number one, make sure you're in that room. The minute the baby comes up out of there, inform them that you have a religious ritual that you have to perform over your child when he comes out. Now, some people say this is not obligatory, but for what they're about to do to the child when they come out here in America, for us, it's obligatory. You take the child and you recite the Fatiha, the Adhan in the right ear, and you recite the Iqama in the left ear, and then I will recite Ayatul Kursi. I have a phone in there where you can turn it on and play Ayatul Kursi real quick. And then once that's done, that child is protected from any type of black magic that they're about to do, or any type of baptism. Because if you notice, if you ever been in there and had a child before, you know it's the first thing they do.
No, this is my first.
Okay, what I'm saying, anybody's had a child, I'm going to say this. Anybody had a child been in the birth room, they know the doctors want to take the baby, they want to cut the umbilical cord, and then want to wash the baby. That's the baptism process right then and there, because you're going to a religious institution called a hospital funded by Christians mostly, and this is what they do. They baptize the children right then and there. And like Mustafa Bey said, they have the mother put the name on the birth certificate, removing your authority and saying that the child has been given over to the father, which is the Pope. So you have to perform your Islam. This is what we mean by nationality, you know what I'm saying? And knowing what you must do as a national in any type of situation that you're in, so that when you go into these situations, I got to go up in there. I'm Muslim, you know, mashallah, you know, your country, you know, recognizes my, you know, my rights to be Muslim and my rights to practice my Islamic practices and perform my rituals, you know, and this is my Islamic ritual that I have to perform on my child, and I'm the one that must sign the birth certificate, not the wife. Or conjunction. Both of y'all sign it. She put her signature in the box at the bottom, and you make sure you put your signature at the top, symbolizing authority.
Right.
You know, and
okay.
That's what I would do if I was caught up into a situation to where my children were born, you know what I'm saying, you know, at a public, you know, Christian facility, well, which is a hospital. And all hospitals in America, most of them are Christian anyway. You know what I'm saying? You go up in there, they got crosses, they got the church up in there. Most of them have already surrendered to the, you know, to the Vatican Church and stuff like that. So, you know, you know, going up in there, you know, they're giving you the benefit for spend all that money on having your child, and of course they go into your account to process the payment, which is your Social Security account, and they're gonna create another trust on top of that. You know what I'm saying? So when you put your name on the birth certificate, you're securing your rights as a father and removing that pear tree from the actual document itself. You know what I'm saying? So that if in that condition, that's what I would do. And that's what these platforms are going to be for. You know what I'm saying? So we can properly instruct Muslims on how to do things from the beginning, so that we don't have to go back and fix these things after they've already got too far along. Because that's when they become difficult. That's when you got to put up a fight. You got to box when you've been in a situation and your rights have been transformed or torn, turned over to, the people who are using you. You know what I'm saying? You got to go back and correct that long record. But for the children, we should correct this right at the gate so that they don't have these problems, like some of us have. You know what I'm
saying?
Another thing is they really concerned about you giving them the name. And so they're gonna rush you into what's the name, so they can hurry and get that on that certificate. You can also delay that and say, well, we're not certain on the name yet, and delay the process also. You know what I'm saying? But what the brother said is very important about making sure you sign that birth certificate.
Okay.
Yeah, and about the name, I'm gonna add to that. With the name, if because that's what they try to do to me. They try to rush me with the name, but I told them no. This, us choosing the name is based upon, what I'm saying, when Adam alayhi salam was in paradise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to name everything. You know what I'm saying? So you have to give your child a name that has meaning to it, and we haven't come to that conclusion yet. We'll get back to you in a few days on what name we want on there. I have to make 2 rak'ahs istikhara, you know what I'm saying, and ask my Lord, the proper name to give my child. You have to make the whole childbirth all spiritual, you know what I'm saying, within your spiritual jurisdiction and what you understand as Islam, and not anything that's coming from their pagan demonstrations. You know what I'm saying? You have to clearly inform them of that, and don't break from it. You know what I'm saying? No circumstance. We don't have to do that. And you don't have to. And once you start telling them you're gonna do these things, you're gonna see what they just gonna follow along. They're gonna do what you want. They're gonna do what you say do. But if you just sit there and don't say nothing to be quiet, then that's when they're gonna take, they're gonna take power of attorney, and they're gonna start doing things on your behalf and on your children's behalf.
Yeah, because you got to remember that they trustees, and they're about to create a trust with your child. So you want to be in that position to say, yay or nay on this or that. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you are the one that are in the head of the estate. Because if it's just the mother, like, they're assuming that child is under the Pope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just talking to my woman earlier. She don't understand her. She's so she just dense to that type of understanding stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like hard.
She's not alone, brother. She's not alone.
Yeah, she's not alone. Because I know it's a lot of women like this. You know what I'm saying? It just she came up. She's one of the ones. She took her shahada. She did a little time in joint. You know what I'm saying? She took her shahada in jail. She came home and hooked up with one of them Salafi boys that don't give a damn about nothing about spirituality. You know what I'm saying? It's all ritual, and otherwise he is drunk and a whoremonger and all that. You know what I'm saying? So she didn't learn nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I took her on thinking that she knew something because she could talk a good game. You feel me?
Well, man, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, man, protect you and your wife, man, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create some subtle. But at the same time, Allah says in the Quran that the women and the children are da'ifain. That's the term that he uses for the women, that they're among 2 weeks. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa," that the men have a higher position over women. You know what I'm saying? So, the women is always going to be in a situation of where, there's going to be some bending. You know what I'm saying? So you got to know how to bend along with it. That's bending and curves is not a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Curves, you know what I'm saying? Bent, it just means that it's not straight, but it don't mean that it's less and lesser in importance as the man, because without the man, there's no woman. Without the man, there's no no woman. And also coming to the creators both to work in union with one another and to know our proper places within, a marriage. And the proper place of the man is that he's the one in control. You know what I'm saying? The woman is in control when the man is out doing whatever he need to do, then she takes on that position. You know what I'm saying? As trustee over the belongings and the children. You know what I'm saying? But as long as you there and alive, you gotta, inform your wife, like, look, this is the way, we gotta perform this so that I can maintain my fatherhood in my child's life. You know what I'm saying? On the record. Like I don't want to have to prove this to anybody later on. I want it on the record, on the birth certificate itself, that I'm the father of this child. There's a male name on there and there's a female name on there. You know what I'm saying? Which is originally, how the birth certificate should have been developed. That's why we got to go outside of these systems and start developing a community that can actually perform these specific actions as a whole, so we don't have to do these things anymore. And anybody that want to stay over there and perform the actions of the corporation, then that's them. They stay over there. Pretty soon they're gonna want to make hijra, and they're gonna try to come to the community that can save them. Hopefully, at that time, it's not too late that they can still be saved, because the camps are coming, whether these people like it or not. The camps are coming.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Things are coming to where people is going to have to make a concrete decision. Today, am I Muslim, or do I want to go stand in the corporate line because my Islamic organization didn't create nothing or develop nothing for me to run to? So only thing I got to run to, which is what they're doing now, I got to run to the church. How many Muslims is going to the Christian church to get food, free food? Because the masjids ain't providing nothing. They're not providing an outlet. They're not providing this particular, and if they getting food through a 501c3. They getting it donated from other wealthy kuffars, and well, I just want to help some people out. They give a charity to a Muslim community. Well, what's happening to the real money, the zakat money, the zakat? What's happening with this money? Where's this money going to? You know what I'm saying? Can you actually go to a masjid and say, look, I have a business that I want to start, and I want to take a business loan Islamically from the masjid. Can you do that? Can't do that. So that's why, what I'm saying, that's why we are, up against the scholars. I mean, we up against the wall. Don't get us wrong. This what we on is a very, very difficult task. It's not easy going up against, the entire United States corporate government, and then a whole Muslim community that are all signed up as a 501c3. I mean, you can imagine how deep the sea can get. You know what I'm saying? And how much work need to be put in order to transform this. Like it's like, having a shotgun going up against an Uzi, but at some time, you know what I'm saying, you gotta muster up and be a man and say, well, I'm ready to fight back, whether I'm martyred or not. You know what I'm saying? Something has to transform where the community changes. You know what I'm saying? Where we stop the the paradigm of us just going and doing what the Joneses are doing, what everybody else is doing. You know what I'm saying? That has to change. We gotta get out of that particular sphere, you know what I'm saying, and move forward. Somebody got their hand up here. Somebody is on Moto Stylist 5G. Oh, who is this? Can you unmute? I'm trying to see what that is. I think that's Luke Man. No, that's not Luke Man. That's somebody else. You got your hands raised, but I can't see.
Luke Man, that's my big bro, man.
Let me see. Let me ask this person to unmute or ask to start video.
Connected. Unmute.
Yeah. Okay. Here, buddy, is right here. Oh, walaikum salam to the barakatuh. Okay, this is the sister. How you doing, sister?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I'm very excited to listen to these brothers, knowledgeable brothers. And I want to ask one more question. What is the cost for the first part to have your birth certificate and establish an EIN? That's the first question. And secondly, once you do that, how will I know what EIN to look for? Because I heard the brother Abdul Rahman, he was saying that there are different types of EINs.
Right. Yeah. So all of this is basically free. None of this costs an EIN number, whether you get it for a corporation or whether you're getting it for a trust or for a foreign trust, is all free. The IRS is not charged for this. You know what I'm saying? Now what was the other question you asked? You asked
well, it was how do I know what type of EIN I should apply for? You were saying that there are different types.
So an EIN number that we would utilize in order to establish a family trust, moving into what we call as a private express trust, both of them are private, is what they call as a 9(8) number. A 9(8) number is an EIN number. That's utilized to establish a foreign grantor trust. And that number you would use in order to, transform your estate, which is made public, back over into the private. You see what I'm saying? And then, you would, that's free. You don't have to pay any money to get a 9(8) number to the IRS themselves. Now, what we do is, as a community, in order to help perform this, we'll get into that at another time. But all that particular numbers and stuff like that from the IRS are free.
Sister. I would say this. Okay, so for your straw man name, okay, that's your name in all caps. You want an EIN for the straw man name. That's basically it's an estate. So you want a estate EIN for that.
Okay.
You just want to do, when you fill out the forms, which we can get into all that in other sessions and instruct you how to actually fill out the form. But when you fill out the form, you want to fill it out applying for an estate EIN, but you're going to use your all caps name for that estate.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, is where you from?
I am from Detroit, Michigan.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
I know you guys by way of Lukman Ubeda, who's my husband.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Mm-hmm. Well, mashallah, Lukman Ubeda will probably, that's our brother. And as a trustee, he's gonna
the big homie,
the first in operation to fix the family trust. So there's your trustee, right there. Okay. Everything will fall in his hands. It will go under him.
Inshallah.
Yeah. I mean, because we want to do things in the reason why I asked that, because if we got a sister on here that's that's not married, that doesn't have a husband, mm-hmm. She would perform the same activities. But this is the whole reason why we need to establish a real Islamic organization and community like this, because the men in that society automatically become the trustees over the women and the children. So perfect example, mm-hmm. If a woman is driving in a car by herself, right, and she gets pulled over by a cop or something like that, or police, mm-hmm. and she's driving in a car, and I'm using the terms that they would use, and I'm gonna explain why, and she gets pulled over, and they ask her, does she have any driver license, ID, and all this kind of stuff, and she pulled that stuff out there, and then they say, well, ma'am, can you step out of the car so we can search the car? I mean, that's the illegal search and seizure, but who would actually know that that's not to be done unless they're properly educated, that they don't have to get out the car, that they don't have to actually show a driver license, even though they car is probably registered with the DMV, that they don't have to even answer any questions to them. You know what I'm saying? But if we was to establish what we're talking about, your car would never be registered with the DMV. You know what I'm saying? Your trust would be registered. And when they pull you over, they would be getting in contact with your trustee. and you will hand them that card. Say, no, I'm a part of the Sunday Morning Islamic Assembly Trust Organization. I'm on my way traveling to an assembly, and here's my trustee that you can get in contact with if I've committed any type of trespasses. Therefore, you create the buffer right then and there.
You can also establish the do not detain order through that 9-8 foreign trust. And so once they look it up, it will be in their computer to do not detain.
Oh.
Do not detain and do not stop.
Yeah.
So now you can see the power. You know, if we had a 9-8 number as an Islamic organization, how much power would that Islamic organization have in the United States of America?
Brother, Brother Abdul Rahman Bey, I heard you saying something earlier about establishing an entity, a trust as an entity. What type of numbers are you talking about? I mean, when you're saying that you need, are you talking about a totality of Muslims, like all the Muslims, or could you start with a certain amount of number?
We can start with 10 people. 10 people. 10 people.
Oh, okay.
10 people. 10
let there be
10 people can do this.
Let them rise up from a small band of us. That's all it takes.
Yeah, you know, this don't have to be. We don't need no 1,000. That would be great if we can get. It would be good if we can get 10 people. It would be better if we can get 25 people. It would be great if we get 1,000. But you know, we don't have to wait until we convince every Muslim to do this, because this is something personally that we have to do ourselves anyway, because we were supposed to do this anyway. So no, we don't need 1,000 people, you know what I'm saying, to do this. I mean, whoever.
I know that was I was being the number. I was just saying that.
No, that's good. That's a good question, because a lot of people, think that, we need to go to a masjid to convince a whole masjid to do this. Well, sometimes that's not even in our best interest to even talk to the people at the masjid, because, they got hidden contracts that they don't know about that we might not want to be a part of, That's one reason why I've never joined an Islamic organization in America, because I know about these things. I know what they're doing. So for me to go join blindly and ignorantly and then try to, try to communicate with them these things, they're not even listening to them outside of the masjid, let alone on their board. You know what I'm saying? They organization. I mean, it's a shame to see, people walking inside these places and think they're getting spiritually fed, and they're coming out spiritually dead. And then they'll be the same people claiming, oh, we got all the knowledge over here. You need to come over here and learn. We got over here, but when you look at the structure, what I'm saying, it's like, okay, let me tear down a couple of walls. Ain't nothing really there, and not, at least not for us. And I've been part of the whole Muslim community in America, for the last 30 years, and there's nothing but withdrawals and backlash. There's no advancement at all, period, point blank, for children, for our community, nothing like that. Now, a perfect example. Look at our condition today, and the condition that our people is in, the condition that our masjids is in, and then they got people around here that's going around advocating that we have racism inside the masjid. What masjid is the question? Has the racism? Is that a masjid? Or are those just people up in there that have evil sentiments from their own country that are coming over here, misguided, miseducated by the Department of Educational system, that's using the European understanding as to who we are? Now, on the flip side of the coin, we flip that around, you know what I'm saying? They're in a worse position than we are, because they have a legitimate signed contract. And I'm talking about foreigners, a legitimate signed contract of citizenship with the US corporate government. You and I don't have that. We're in a whole totally different status.
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much for answering my question.
MashaAllah.
Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, so if that ends for the question, inshallah ta'ala, we're gonna we're in, and hopefully inshallah ta'ala, just begin to spread the word. We're gonna be doing, we're trying to establish we'll have a website up soon. We already worked on that. We'll have that up, within a couple of weeks. Where we're gonna start having educational classes, what I'm saying, and for our people to get this type of information, this kind of knowledge. So, You know, that's coming soon.
Okay.
You know, we like a grassroots type people. You know, we're not really social media type guys. You know, we like to reach out and touch our brothers and sisters so that you can see the people that you actually dealing with. And that's the first thing if establishing trust is that you got to see the people that you're taking knowledge from. You know, the Rasul Islam said, you know, you know, take knowledge from the mouths of men. It's handed down like that. So, you know, people that are far apart, you know, we don't nobody know each other. You can't establish trust like that. You know, somebody saying, I'm going to just govern you because I speak Arabic. I'm going to govern you because, you know, I got all the Quran. It don't always work like that. You know what I'm saying? And the Rasul alayhi salam didn't do it like that. You know, he was the Nabi alayhi salam, and he had authority over everybody. But sometimes he sent people who to govern their own people, because they were used to the custom and traditions, and they knew how to, you know, bring their people along. And that's, you know, that's some of the things that we got to do. We got to spread the word. We got to begin to, if we want to save our family that are not Muslim, then this information in dawah is very, very important and should be at the highest level of communication between us and our families. You know, a lot of people is taking the stance, oh, we want to convert them from Christianity. You're not converting them from Christianity because they're not Christian from Jump Street. They were forced into Christianity, you know what I'm saying, by way of colonialism. If you notice, every country on the planet that was ever colonized, the first thing that they thought about was how do we become uncolonized? We are the only people on the planet Earth that are still colonized. The proof and evidence of it is the language that I use to communicate with you right here and everybody else. The most interesting part about this is that we are part of a way of life that has a different language and a different culture, but that language did not come over here with the culture that we practice, which is Islam, and which is the language of Arabic. There's no concern about that. The concern is like, you know, learn how to make wudu for the next 40 years. You know, learn about Aqidah for the next 40 years. I mean, how long is it going to take you to recognize that Allah's one, and that he don't have opposite, and that he does not have any human attributes, and he's not a part of his time? I mean, how long is it going to take someone to learn that? And how long should it take someone to learn that? A case in point, I've been out the country. So as when you look at the educational system over here, you may have heard books like the Akhdari, you know what I'm saying? Books like the Ibn Asr, you know, books like Umdat al-Bayan and stuff like that. These books are kindergarten books that they teach to children. By the time their children are 14, they are already 5 decades ahead of us. You know, when it comes to Islamic knowledge, Islamic education, you know, these books are beginning books. I mean, how long am I going to keep hearing how to wash my hands and wash my mouth and talk beer into salat? We have to be able to move from the prayer rug into an actual physical organization that makes a difference in the hearts of our people and the hearts of humanity, because that's what nationality is about. It's a call to correct humanity. You know, this is the Mahdi mind state, by the way. You know, this is a revivalist movement, you know, whether people see it that way or not, you know, but when you're not out here advocating for money, you're not out here, you know, advocating for leadership, because, you know, our intention was to remove them from amongst what we do from the day me and Mustafa Bey even start giving out the information. You know, we said, no, we're not looking for a leader. We're looking for a group of brothers to communicate and to create a Shura council to where we can agree, because men have to agree. We got to shake hands. And the women who are with those families have to also agree. It has to be a union. And that's what we, you know what I'm saying, that's what we want to develop. A unionized, you know, community that grows into an Islamic nation, you know, that has the ability to, you know, to operate as real Muslims, so we can begin to, you know, really put the program together. Because if we don't establish an educational system outside of the European educational system, which ain't gonna teach itself anyway, then our children, we are still practicing colonialism. We're all colonializing our children. If they don't speak Arabic, and you know what I'm saying, which is the language of the Quran and the Sunnah alayhi Islam, and everything they understand has to be translated from them, that is the number one sign that someone is not interested in you being free. And that's extremely important, that Islam, Arabic comes with the deen. You know, you by the second year, you should have already been speaking Arabic. It only takes 2 years to learn Arabic. If you got a good sheikh that's really about the Quran, it only take a year to master the Quran. So you can imagine what's happening to the children, like what's really going on. Like, you know, these youth, and I'm saying it here, and we're gonna publicize this, that are coming from overseas that are teaching here, and only a few people benefit from that teaching. My sheikh taught me, he said, Abdul Rahman, I'm not teaching you how to become a mushaf that sits on the shelf. He said, you got to go out to the people. He said, I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to teach you for free. And then you go out and teach your people. You know what I'm saying? Sheikh Mhip, my sheikh, he came to the ghettos of America. He came to Watts. It was on 94th Central. You know what I'm saying? Teaching Quran to little bitty Watts kids, the little bitty Watts children that wasn't even Muslim. He's like, no, they got to learn too. We teach everybody. So that people can, if they don't become Muslim, they can become an Abdul Muttalib. They can become a friend of the Muslims. It might not be in a decree to become a Muslim, but they may be a friend of us. They may not have any type of, Islamophobia once they are, once they are approached with this history, once they're given this knowledge, that Islamophobia will stop. Now, if in their heart is some type of other thing, then mashallah, you know, that's just the way Allah created you. You're just a deviant human being, and we're gonna leave you to where lakum dinukum waliya din, to you be your way and to mine be mine. And that caused the separation for Hijrah. You know what I'm saying? We got to go overseas for that? No, we just get some land right up in here. Allah said, in the wasa, you know, verily the earth of Allah is spacious. And we know California and every other land in America, it's all kind of pockets you could just go get into and develop your society. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and these things, this is what nationality really takes us to. This is why we have to do this, because if we don't do it, then, you know, we could be blameworthy as well with this kind of knowledge that we got. That's why we've been trying to get this information out. You know, we didn't have done it through Facebook. You know, Facebook shut us down. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, we say certain things that they don't like. So that's their platform. So that's why we came over here to the Zoom, paid for it, and now we're able to give you the information without being shut down and, you know, ridiculed by anybody, you know, by people and organizations that really don't have our best interests in mind. You know, I'm just being honest. You know, I mean, you know how much money flow through these people's hands, and none of it gets to the people. You know, I feel sorry for them on Yom Kippur. You know, I feel very sorry for them. You know what I'm saying? I feel extremely sorry for them, because for what the leadership is doing, they know better. And if they don't know, they should know. Like Mustafa Bey said, you know, this is information that you should know when you put yourself in the position of being a leader. You should know this information. And they can't say we didn't try to give it to them. So we didn't try to give it to them several times. But the reason why now we're just saying, forget it. Let's just get out there and call the people. You know what I'm saying? If the leadership want to stay at the table, you know, eating their nice food, you know, building up their account. I got dinner right here. Then, you know, that's on them. So alhamdulillah wa shukrillah, you know, it's 12:30. We don't have any more questions, inshallah ta'ala. You know, we're getting to close out. And inshallah ta'ala, we're gonna try to have this video edited. We're gonna post this thing so, you know, it can travel, and that way you can share it, you know, with others that need to be privy to this information as well, inshallah ta'ala.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would like to, I wasn't able to see it. Wa alaikum assalam.
I got one minor question, inshallah.
Well, you have a question, not a minor question.
Yeah.
There's no minors here, Mo.
Yeah, you're right. MashaAllah. Thank you for the correction. Alhamdulillah. The question is, there are a lot of people who are not Muslim who are interested in Moorish nationality. What is their recourse?
Take shahada and be Muslim.
SubhanAllah.
Take shahada and be Muslim. You can't be a Moor without Islam. It's not. But you know what's so interesting about this? Even Mustafa Baker he's gonna say the same thing, is that the Europeans made being a Moor synonymous with Islam. They look at their dictionaries, they made it like that.
Yeah, exactly.
They the ones who put if you go look up in their English dictionary, they say a Moor is a Muslim belonging to the Berbers or the Arabs. That applies to us, bro.
and what's crazy, they try to attach every other culture to it that ain't supposed to be attached to it. You got a dude told me he's a Moor, but he's a like one of them witch doctors or something.
Oh yeah, they
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
He said he
and
what?
That's the
He said
problem,
he's a
Moore.
Moor. He said
That's
he's
the
a Moor,
problem.
but he practices. I can't remember Ifa and Yoruba, and he's a yeah, and he said he's been through some type of ritual school, and he's
Man, they hate
considered
Muslims.
like a
Yoruba
he's
people
not. He
hate
don't say
Muslims.
nothing about no Muslim.
The problem
No.
with that is the Muslims have abandoned the post. And so they have left it open for everyone to come in and assume the identity. You see what I'm saying? And when you go look at what the Moorish Science Temple has done, is they have drifted so far away from what they were initially established to do, to where you got all these different types up under that particular heading, and they don't even believe in the same thing. Some of them was talking about Kemet, some of them talking about the Hebrew Israelites, some of them talking about they Moorish Muslims. You know, you got the ones that's talking about they indigenous Washita. You got all this stuff that done crept in under the heading of Moor, because the Muslims have become
the
black
Nazis and all that.
color.
Like I say, when you abandon your post, somebody else shall claim your post.
And I want to add to that. There's one individual. He makes the claim to be the right and exact Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple. He's stationed out of Galveston, Texas. Listen,
all of them claim to be the Supreme Grand. All of them claim to be the Supreme Grand Authority.
Listen, this dude right here, he say he is the descendant of Mili El Bey, and he has the right to claim Supreme Grand Sheikh because he has all the proper teachings and documents from the Moorish Science Temple by way of his whoever Mili El was to him.
Mili El was Noble Drew Ali's second in command, who assumed leadership over the temple when the temple split. So as far as the Moorish Science Temple goes, he might have some historical lineage that links him to the guy who was right next to Noble Drew Ali, but I don't see nothing in their literature that would make him like in the Shia sense entitled to the mantle. You see what I'm saying? That don't mean that he's supposed to be the leader.
I'm not saying that too, but like I was going to tell you, me and him had a falling out. As in prison, a dude who was my roommate was a part of his temple. Mm-hmm. I forget the number, like temple number 20 something out of Galveston. But he was sending the books because I told him, I said, yeah, I be studying, you know what I'm saying? So like, he's like, you need to get up on this right here. So he started getting the brother to get direct contact with me, him and his secretary. They were both contacting me and they were sending me literature. But like I would question him, and he got on some stuff like, "Don't question me, dude." You know what I'm saying? You don't recognize where I am. You know what I'm saying? You too low on the totem pole to question me, doc.
Man, these Negroes crack me up with their little different type of titles.
Because I think the brother came on late, so let me just draw back on something for you real quick, so you'd have some combat for anybody. Not the Moorish Science Temple, the Sundry Moors Act is what established, nationality, if they want to say it like that, in law here in America, what I'm saying, on the record, Sundry Moors Act. But I mean, that didn't even establish Moorish nationality. Moors existed prior to the Sundry Moors Act. The Sundry Moors Act of 1790 was only recognizing that these were Moors and that we were free. So that organization called the Moorish Science Temple, what I'm saying, that came, way later, and that don't really have no teeth with us. They don't have, they're not a governmental body. They don't have, they're not a governmental structure. What I'm saying? They don't, they don't have no authority to issue nationality cards or nationality, to anyone outside of that organization. It's been transferred from a trust to a 501c3 anyway, and it's on the record that they've done that. So, what I'm saying, they also blameworthy with what they have done. So You know, we on the right track of what we're doing. You know, alhamdulillah, shukillah, you know, Mustafa Bey, you know what I'm saying, he's more aware of that whole Moorish Science Temple, demonstration. But historically, that's the history, you know what I'm saying, where,
Right.
that's combative against anybody that's saying, they're grand. First of all, they not no grand sheikh. A grand sheikh in our deen is somebody that is a master of the language of Arabic, number one, that he's a hafiz of Quran, number two, that he's either a master of one of the four madhahibs, number three, and that he applies this particular law form to his life, and then he teaches it to other people, as the Rasul alayhi salam said, خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best of you are the ones who taught the Quran, and we learned the Quran and taught it. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
there it is right there. So
I
ain't
don't know.
can't no kafir, no disbeliever, be talking about I'm I'm a grand shake of nothing. You know what I'm saying?
I just brought him up because, like, his confidence is like through the roof, and he do have a little following. I can't say because he somehow
Yeah, I
was
mean
able to
Jesse. I
get a
mean
lot of
Jesse.
the book.
Jesse Jackson got a following. So
Yeah,
let me say
true.
let me say this. Let me say this. Let me say this, Mo. Let me say this, Mo. Like in regards to the Moorish Science Temple, right? There's a line being drawn. Okay, like the Moorish Science Temple itself as an organization has no Islamic authority whatsoever. Everybody needs to know that. The fact that they have pushed the line in regards to certain things, like basically teaching people to be civically involved. That's the greatest benefit that's come from the Moorish Science Temple is people understanding the law, understanding how local politics work, so on and so forth, taking control of their community. That's something that we all can benefit from in regards to how they've been instrumental in imparting that information to their community. But when we say the Moorish Science Temple, it is originally was a religious trust, and what dude is probably talking about is he might have some type of connection to the trust, to that original religious trust, and he's looking for recognition because there are competing entities out there that also operate under the name Moorish Science Temple of America, and they all have different followings. So that's what he's on. But we ain't with none of that. None of what we're doing is synonymous with what they're doing, other than telling people to be civically involved. You see what I'm saying? Or understanding, you know what I'm saying, how American jurisprudence works in your life. You know what I'm saying? That's the job of the Muslim regardless, because you live here. You see what I'm saying? So they can't take any claim over anything that we're doing as an organization as far as the Surgery Moors Islamic Assembly goes. You see what I'm saying? Our protocol and the way we're doing things is coming directly from Quran, Sunnah, and then understanding application and how to apply it. You have to go through various measures before you can get to that point in this country. So that's where correcting your status and all that is, which is also part of establishing your national existence and right to exist as a people, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah,
I'm
because
definitely
them dudes will tell you that Noble Ali is the Sharif and all kind of stuff, and you know what I'm saying, and you know, and he's the only Islamic authority. And I be watching Muslims literally consider that stuff, like they literally get caught up in what they talking about, like. And then when you look at the condition of the so-called African American communities and how they have no political power, and they ain't moving, ain't building, ain't doing nothing, you look at them and say, well, maybe they got something going because they're grabbing properties, they doing all these things, you know what I'm saying? And so it just shows you that we need to step into our proper person is all we got to do. Step into our proper person. You see what I'm saying? And leave off these dead titles.
Okay. Yeah, I've been kicked the dirt over him years ago though.
Oh yeah, well I'm glad to hear it, brother.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
alhamdulillah, man. we're definitely, and just to, give you something else, we are the Sunday Moors of Islamic Assembly. Sunday Moors Islamic Assembly. That's what we have established, and that's really why we're having this discussion, because we want to invite brothers to the assembly. That's what this is. This is assembly. And in order for us to, have a proper, decision on the matter, we have to assemble. You know what I'm saying? And we have to leave from the assembly with a one direction, horizontal, decision on how we're gonna operate as Muslims. I mean, all the stuff that the Moorish Science Temple talk about, like the paperwork from Morocco and stuff like that, all that stuff is true, but it don't apply to them. I've been to Morocco. I've actually taken my Shahada in Morocco. I went there specifically to do that, and also to do some research on nationality in the international jurisdiction. And what I found out that we are Moors in Morocco, in the United States Consulate. They validate this. They know it. I mean, I got an affidavit with Moorish American on there. So, as far as I'm concerned, the Moorish Science Temple is not a part of any type of U.S. consulate. They don't have any type of governmental authority. You know what I'm saying? The governmental authorities that are in authority today that are basically running and operating the whole world, they know we're Moors.
Let me ask you this. What I guess I would say, like, I kind of surmise it, like you said, it don't have nothing to do with the temple. It got to do with the individuals. Like, cause I know other people who went to Morocco and taking their shahada who are considered Moorish Americans, but they don't claim any type of affiliation with the temple. Is that true? It's all about the individual going and like basically making a statement on his own.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if they went to Morocco and taking their shahada, they should be here.
Right. Yeah.
If you know them brothers who done that, because a lot of times what happens that a lot of brothers they go there.
I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people who would probably be interested, but like some of these brothers is in prison. They do have access to cell phones, but it would be a matter of timing in order to get them involved. And some of them even, you know what I'm saying, they got a little bit of financial stability, even though they're in them situations. But I know people that would definitely want to, if not just here, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, that's that's fine. We got a spot for our brothers that are incarcerated, but we definitely want to more focus on people that are actually, with their foots on the ground.
Yeah, free. Right. Right. I mean,
even though they're in prison, they're free too. They just don't know it, or know how to, get out of that situation. A lot of times you can. You just got to know what to do unless you're in there for a crime of moral turpitude. You know what I'm saying? Like, a crime of moral turpitude is. So, them crimes right there, yeah, somebody probably should be in prison for performing them type of crimes, but other type of crimes are just commercial. And they're just business. If you know how to conduct business properly, you can come up from under that stuff. A lot of us were scared a lot of us got scared at the altar and sacrificed ourselves. We took a deal. Instead of doing the right thing, you only can do what you only can perform the knowledge that you have access to. So if you don't have access to the knowledge, you know what I'm saying, then of course, you won't be able to do any of these things that we talk about, because it's not that you don't know them, it's that you're not competent in this area of knowledge to perform these particular activities. The same thing like with somebody that's not Muslim. It's not that they can't be Muslim, it's that they don't know how, because nobody has explained to them properly how to really become Muslim, you know what I'm saying, and how to transform their lives. For me, for me personally, you know what I'm saying, if we haven't built an Islamic city in America, then the dawah still haven't been given properly. People still haven't really changed nothing, you know what I'm saying, especially if they they become Muslim and they say, well, how do I do this? Like, how do I really live like this? If the how question comes up, then there's a problem. Anytime how comes up, that cave, that becomes a problem. And we got to look at how to fix the how. And how to fix the how it's specific by doing everything that we just laid out. You know, everything that we just talked about laid out. That's the whole blueprint. You know, there's no other blueprint. You know that you know the only thing that's coming that will fix this issue. You know what I'm saying, by way of Allah knows best if we will even see that time. You know, is the Mahdi. But you know, we don't sit around waiting for the Mahdi appear to transform our lives. You know what I'm saying? We already Muslim. We already here. The Mahdi is Al Muntazir. He's the awaited Mahdi. You know what I'm saying? So you know, but we're waiting on him to appear, but we don't wait till Yuqimus Salat. We don't wait to establish the prayer. You know what I'm saying? We do that now. You know what I'm saying? We have to do that now. And you know, inshallah ta'ala, when he comes, you know, we'll be worthy of practice to where, you know, we've done something to benefit from, you know what I'm saying, that presence. If we're alive, inshallah. You know, right now, you know what I'm saying, it's, you know, this is we here right now. So we gotta do what we do. You know what I'm saying, until that time approaches.
Mm-hmm.
So alhamdulillah,
I can't wait.
If that's it, man, we're gonna start closing this out, man. And you know, everybody that's on here, you know what I'm saying, alhamdulillah, shukrillah, you know, we'll keep your, we'll keep your contacts. And then when we get the website up, that's where we're really gonna drop the meat at. Because it's gonna be a private website. You're gonna have to become a member, you know what I'm saying, of the organization through the website in order to access some of the information, because you know, we want to make sure we building up a trust foundation from the beginning. You know, we don't want just anybody just coming in, you know what I'm saying, and you know, sabotaging the community, you know what I'm saying, that's the beginning. You know, we really do this. We want to start with education first. We want brothers and sisters to be educated, you know what I'm saying, before they start going out there performing any of these matters. Because what we've seen is that people that go listen to certain people that actually come to our organization, like we've been doing it for a long time, and people that have come to us, that have studied with us for a minute, have tried to go perform some of these activities on their own and got the totally different effect than we got, because they performed these things on their own. They didn't have any instructions. They didn't have any help. And they just thought that, oh, well, I know how to do this myself. I know how to go sign a contract. Well, actually, you don't. And there's nothing wrong with saying that I don't know. Allah says in Quran, ask the people of the reminder when you do not know. So there's nothing wrong with asking, and there's nothing wrong with not being competent in everything. I don't think nobody knows it all. You know what I'm saying? You know, you know, you have some, even myself, some things that I don't know, I ask my elder Mustafa Bey. I call him like, hey, Mo, what you think about this? If it's yay, then I'm gonna smooth with it. If it's no, Mo, we want to transfer that a little bit, then you know, we're gonna transfer. And vice versa. You know what I'm saying? You know, we gotta, you know, as Muslims, we gotta have the humility to know what we know and to know what we don't know. You know what I'm saying? And that's sometimes that's the problem that we be having with a lot of other people, that, you know, they think they should know this stuff, and because they don't know, they get the arrogance and they say, well, I'm gonna just go out and just go do this on my own and see what happens. And then an atrocity happens because he don't know the process, and then he just throws away the whole process. Oh, none of that stuff worked. No, it didn't work because you try to apply like this, and it don't apply to you when you try to perform these actions as a Negro, as a Black or colored, African American, or you started mentioning things like the 14th Amendment, or I have a constitutional guarantee. You know what I'm saying? These particular, this language in any type of thing that you perform. You got to know how to say it, when to say it, what to say, and how to say it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we're going to develop this website and this educational center, so that we can be able to educate our people and brothers and sisters as well, how to properly perform these particular actions, so that when they do them, they're confident. You know what I'm saying? There's no doubt. You know, there's on the other side, there's nobody come say, no, you can't do this. You know, that, oh, that's crazy. No, it's not crazy. It may be crazy to you because you don't know about it, but it's not crazy though. It's actually the way the government tells us to operate. You know, just think about it. Just think about it like this. Through your whole life of learning the language of English, have you ever heard of a Black's Law Dictionary?
Not until I went to prison.
There it is. 1 through 6. Through school, only thing you heard about is the Webster's Dictionary. So, you know, we
Right.
got to think, you know, we got to look at, you know what I'm saying, the education. So think about that. You go to prison and you learn these hardcore facts. You learn these particular hardline documents. But the average person that go to school on the street, they got a degree, have never even looked into the first page of the book. And these are people that go to college with high class degrees and sits on top of the shelf like, oh, I'm educated. No, you're not. You're educated in a field that you've been educated in, which is whatever, like South Bay said, whatever profession that you in. And that profession that you in has been copywritten. So that's why you're a professional of that field. But when it comes to this stuff here, this is not copywritten. This is the real deal. You know, these are facts. As that people want to use that term out there, these are facts. These are undebatable facts. You know, you can either do it and choose to do it, or you can either not do it and choose not to do it. But you cannot say that any of this information is a lie, any of it was made up, or any of it is misinterpreted, because it's right there for face value on the page. All you got to do is open up and look and see. It's right there. You know, I showed a brother the other day. You know what I'm saying? You know, the meaning of the term more, and what the Europeans say about it. You know, and what they and how they utilize it in their dictionaries. They clearly say that it applies to a Muslim. And it's all Moorish history included in it. Let me show you something real quick.
I wish I could see them. I can't get in my Zoom, man. Huh?
It's gonna be recorded.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, now I'm gonna show you something right now. I'm gonna share my screen real quick again. Let's start popping up. Okay, you see this dictionary right here? Oh, the brother can't see, so let me just, but right now we're using the online etymology dictionary. And I'm pulling this up so when we share the video, you can go back to it and look into yourself. But if you go down here in the etymology dictionary, this is what they says the term more mean in the online etymology dictionary. They says a Moor, a North African, and then they got in parentheses a Berber, one of the race dwelling in Barbary, late 14th century, from Old French Moor, from medieval Latin modals, from Latin modals, inhabitant of Mauritania, Roman Northwest Africa, a region now corresponding to northern Algeria and Morocco, from Greek modals, perhaps a native name, which is the importance here, or else cognate with modals black. But this adjective only appears in late Greek and may as well be from the people's name in the reverse. Powerful. Because they gave us a secret right there as to who we were, but this is not found in the English Webster's Dictionary like this, or in the other dictionary. They put it in the etymology dictionary. So you see how they playing with what information is at? It says it may be well the people's name in reverse. So we found that. You know what I'm saying? That in that term Moor, it only means someone who's indigenous to the land, and he's a son of Cush. That's what it means. And if you see right here, also applied to the Arabic conquerors of Spain. Well, the conquerors of Spain were not Arab. They were Berbers. It was Arabs with them, which is the reason why they included them in there. They were Berbers. But it also says being a dark people in relation to Europeans. You see what I'm saying? Look at this information right here. They didn't say black. They said they were the opposite, a dark color to Europeans. So what color were the Europeans? Well, according to Islam, the Europeans are considered Ahmadiyun. You know what I'm saying? The red people. That's what the Prophet Islam said they were. I was sent to the reds and the dark-skinned races of people. So the Europeans were red. The opposite of red is whatever color was dark. And dark and aswad in Arabic includes even green can be considered dark. Purple can be considered dark. Blue can be considered dark. Brown is considered dark. These are all dark colors. You see what I'm saying? SubhanAllah. Now here's that. Now look at the colonizer. Their name in the Middle Ages was a synonym of the term Negro in the 16th and 17th centuries. So that ought to tell you what started happening to our people. What else did it say? Being the nearest Muslim to Western Europe, it was used indiscriminately of Muslims, which is the term Negro, Persians and Arabs, etc. But especially those in India. You know what I'm saying? This is what it say. So now you got people that are considered Moors in Persia. Now you got people considered Moors as in India. These are dark people. Now you got Moors in the Philippines that call them Bangsamoro. They're Moors, and you got Moors over here. So this is a large people that are Moors. So it's separated between the people who are in opposite to the color of Europeans, color-wise. And you see what it gets back to? It gets you back to what? It gets you back to Islam. Now look at the term Moro in the same dictionary. It said Muslim Malay of the Philippines. In 1886, from Spanish Moro, literally it means Moor. So it goes back to what? The descendants of the people in the Philippines are claiming that they are actually descendants of the Berbers from North and West Africa. SubhanAllah. It's right here in that dictionary. It's just that, like I say, a lot of a lot of people out there that's claiming that they have a lot of knowledge to try to transform people's lives, don't have this. Even if you go down here and you look at the term blackamoor, they usually use that term. Dark-skinned person, black-skinned African, and this happened around the 1540s. So all these terms you're looking at, these are the times when they are actually transforming the names of our people and turning them into slaves. 1500s, you know what I'm saying? Atlantic slave trade, all that kind of stuff. It's all here. But inshallah ta'ala, we just throwing everything out there because we're gonna categorize this on the website where you're gonna be able to go in and get a real proper education and understanding on this stuff in a real or organized manner, inshallah ta'ala. That's the goal. So we can, when you study, you don't have to study long, you know what I'm saying, because we're gonna make sure that everything is right there for you at your fingertips, so that you can have all this information at your disposal as well. Inshallah ta'ala. That's the intentions.
Yeah, I just found it out.
Yep.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, shukrillah, man. If that's it, everybody has their question answered, so we can close out, inshallah.
Now, yes, I'm good. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, mashallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Alhamdulillah wa shukrillah. Until next time, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa barakatuh.